Right, so hi everyone. It's Fourth and Gold, episode 6. So good week last week, and let's just kick straight off and start off with our performance of the week. So I think I'll kick off on this one. The first of my two performances of the week has to be. So when I'll start off with this in terms of. There's 3 guarantees that we have in life, I think. Death, taxes, and that when you need a performance after a terrible performance, Mike Tomlin is going to pull your team through. He delivers every time after a bad performance. You look at that roster from top to bottom, and they're clearly lacking, especially on offense anyway. Depth, skill positions. There's a lot of bits missing across the board. The Texans game, they didn't turn up for whatever reason, but man, did they need a win at home to the Ravens. And not only did they pull off the win, how they pulled off the win, it was just incredible. So I looked, if you can believe, the Ravens had 4 possessions in the last 7 minutes and 49 seconds of the fourth quarter. Right? When they had the ball the first time, they were 10-8 up. First one, they go 3 and out. They punt the ball back to the Steelers. The Steelers muff the punt. The Ravens recover. They then start their second set of possessions at Pittsburgh 7. So this isn't looking good at this point. At that point, I thought the game was pretty much done. I think most Pittsburgh Steelers fans thought it was done at that point. But then the defense turns up and gets a pick. Third time. A fumble, forced fumble by the D, and then the 4th time turnover on downs. So in them 4 possessions, they gave up 0 points. Bearing in mind, one of them times they got the ball from the Pittsburgh 7. They made a total of 18 yards in them 4 possessions with 7:49 left. That is money. When the pressure was on, the fans could have turned. I think maybe a couple of them did start turning when that punt got muffed. But the D stepped up to the plate. And I did say the offense wasn't great, but Pickens turned up. He had a big game, about time. And again, that warrior mentality, I guess you could say. I won't actually go as far as warrior, but Pickett with his bruised bone, toughed it out. And yeah, you know what? Like, got to give it to that D, to Tomlin, for getting his players ready for that monster game against a rival. I don't think neither of us thought the Steelers would win that game. We all thought it would be close, but yeah, fair play to the Steelers on that one. So yeah, that's my performance, my first of 2 performances of the week. Paul, what about you? What was your performance of week 5?
I'm going to go slightly under the radar. The professionalism and all-around team effort of the Philadelphia Eagles going into LA and just handling the Rams. Now, the Rams are good, especially on offense. They're a good team. And Philadelphia, they kind of smother you, and before you know it, you're in the 4th quarter and you're down, not big, but you think you're in the game. Philadelphia squeeze the life out of you, and suddenly you've lost. You think you're in the game against this team, but they are the ultimate kind of competitive team that are all around. Just the talent that they have on offense and D, like, they just know what to do in each moment. Jalen Hurts is not, well, maybe I should start to think of him as a superstar quarterback, but he just handles the situation. And if you show weakness to Philadelphia, they pounce on you. AJ Brown is guys help me out here, but since the days of Megatron, I don't remember somebody, maybe DK Metcalf, but he's not, I don't think he's as productive maybe as now as AJ Brown. AJ Brown, just in terms of the combination of size and speed, and he's kind of nasty with it as well. Like he will beat you up. He'll beat up corners. There's no corner who's even remotely close to his size and as fast as him. And what I mean by how Philadelphia, when they sense weakness, go back to the Commanders game. So, okay, if you're going to give us one-on-one, like AJ Brown, we'll throw to him. And guess what? We'll throw to him again and again and again until you stop it. And if you don't stop it, we'll just keep doing it all day long. Rams did a similar thing. Like they like tried to play man-to-man, doesn't work. And if Philadelphia stop throwing to AJ Brown, then their run game is devastating. Absolute. The O-line that they have is they're just men. Like they just move you off the ball, and it doesn't seem to matter who plays at running back. They make big gains every time that they run the ball. Philadelphia, we haven't seen what this team are capable of. I think they've been playing in second gear, but I think they just turned it up a little bit against the Rams. There's some big games coming up. They've got the Cowboys twice. Maybe that's not a big game after what happened this last week, but there's a game in December against my good friend Jay's 49ers, which could be the decider for NFC number one seed. Keep an eye on Philadelphia. They're just doing enough, but just enough is dangerous because we're in October. We're not in February. You don't win the Super Bowl in October. So credit to Philadelphia. Under the radar team. Well, they're not under the radar. They're undefeated, but under the radar in terms of, I think, what they're capable of doing, we haven't seen yet.
Yeah, lovely. One wide receiver I'd add to that list, Julio Jones, I'd say, is up there with
exactly what I was thinking.
With Megatron, with AJ Brown, but outside of him and DeAndre Hopkins as well. What I will, just going off topic, I do seem to remember you saying, Jay, that he had to get 105 yards to overtake a certain Megatron, right? And he covered it.
He got it. I was hoping he would save it for me this week in London, but he got it. All credit to him.
What a game. But yeah, thanks for that, Paul. And your performance of the week, or your first of two for this week, Jay?
Yeah, so just very quickly, I like to think that I'm fair. And you guys both know that I've not been impressed with Jalen Hurts. But what I will say is I thought that this game was one of his best games throwing. Like, the stats don't really tell the story. Like, you look at it and go, well, yeah, 300 yards. I think it was a touchdown and interception. He made big plays, and that was, for me, I was watching the game thinking, this is what I wanted to see from him.
Yeah.
And so at that moment in time, he was going to be one of my performances of the week.
Yeah.
But how can I not pick something else that occurred straight after that game? I have to start this week with, and I couldn't pick an individual, I'm just going to say the San Francisco 49ers. How about them Niners? Damn! Wow! That was a murder, I tell you. I got to say, that was an absolute mauling from start to finish. We were better on every level. Offense, defense, special teams, physicality, coaching, you name it. I don't know what more to say. Everyone got involved.
Yeah.
The Cowboys made a point of emphasis in the week. We're going to shut down Christian McCaffrey. But what they seemed to forget was there's a whole host of other all-pro caliber players on the team. And so you kept McCaffrey to a mere 71 yards and a touchdown. Pedestrian numbers for McCaffrey, but everyone else ate. Kittle, 3 touchdowns. My man, Kyle Patrick Juszczyk, even had a touchdown on the night.
Yeah.
So, it was just one of those perfect games for the 49ers. But I do want to touch on just 3 performances in particular. Number 1, Fred Warner. Wow, he came out on smoke, 0 to 100 from the first snap. In the first half, he had a forced fumble, which we recovered in Cowboys territory. He had a big sack on 3rd down. He had an interception. Game over, really. Really, you think that's our leader, our quarterback on defense. He led by example. Number 2, got to give a mention to Brock Purdy. The poise that this guy has in the pocket. It's not the strongest arm. We know that. But he is accurate. He is calm. And he is throwing downfield. That's the amazing thing for me, is that you may look at the 49ers and say, well, yeah, he's throwing to the open man, which he is a lot. But they're not 5-yard passes. They're passes that one Jimmy Garoppolo would miss time and time again. You think Jimmy Garoppolo is going to put 42 on the Cowboys? Not a chance. Not a chance. And Brock just, and I know this is early days, we're talking 10 games, but Brock just has flashes of a young Drew Brees to me. Not a strong arm, but processes quickly, very aware in the pocket. I mean, the touchdown to Kittle, where the pocket's collapsing, no problem. I'm going to shift right into the open space, throw on the run. It's not a bullet, but it's accurate. I think that this guy is only ascending. And then lastly, have to give a shout out to Kyle Shanahan. Basically called, pretty much a near perfect game. There was a bit of struggle at 7-0, just a little bit. But he did exactly what we wanted. To put up 42 on the Cowboys, even if it is maybe a little bit overrated Cowboys, it's still 42 points in the NFL in a big game. So I've got to give him credit. And obviously got to give him, well, this might be unfair, but I'm going to give play of the week to the touchdown where Purdy hands it off to McCaffrey. McCaffrey then tosses it to Debo incoming, who then throws it back to Purdy. It's a very fancy flea flicker. Throws it to Kittle. Bang, touchdown, 38 yards. We stole it from the Lions earlier in the day. So I'll give them their dues as well. But yeah, first performance of the week, San Francisco 49ers.
What you said at the beginning of that about Jalen Hurts was 100% that he plays the moment really well. Whatever that moment requires, he does that to get the win. Where Dak appears to do the opposite. Whatever the moment requires, you can be pretty certain a pick will be following pretty soon after that when they need to put up points. So I think that's two huge differences between both players. But yeah, thanks for that, Jay. It was an amazing performance. On that touchdown, was that when Kittle showed off his T-shirt choice for the day, or was that a different one?
Yeah, he did that at the end of the game. I got to admit, I'm not so keen on some of the things that have gone on after this game, but
yeah,
the performance itself, very, very good.
Can't beat the performance, that's for sure. Cool, perfect. So my second performance of the week, if you would have told me I would have been putting this guy for a performance of the week, I would have laughed right in your face. But I'm going to say it because I'll give credit where it's due. And I'm putting Desmond Ridder in there for his performance last week, I never thought I would be doing this, but again, credit where it's due. He got the ball with 1 minute. What was it? 1 minute and 49 seconds left. Down by Down by 1 point, I think it was. Final drive went 58 yards, 5 passes, 1 rush. We've always said make them throw, and if he has to throw, the Falcons will lose. And it was 5 passes and 1 rush, and that 1 rush was by Ridder. It was a 5-yard scramble. Had a 23-yard completion along with some shorter completions. But when it was needed, he made everything on that final drive. Got them to within a comfortable field goal. It was a chip shot to get the win. Comeback win, had a rating of 111. 28 for 37, 329 yards. I hadn't seen this all year in Ridder. Again, it was the Texans, so I will take it with a pinch of salt, but you can only judge someone based off of who they're playing that week. And at the end of the day, the Texans had smashed the Steelers the week before. So I'll give him his credit. Yeah, fair play, Desmond Ridder. I don't imagine you're going to be on my performance of the week many times for the rest of this year, but credit where it's due. He's my second performance of the week for getting the W for a comeback win with a game-winning field goal. Yeah.
Robert, I just want to say, and I said this after week 1, he seems to have at least developed a connection with Drake London because that's his favourite target.
That's what I didn't understand in the London game. He rarely targeted Drake. I know this for a fact because I had to bet on Drake going over 42 yards or something like that in the game, and I just couldn't understand why he was hardly targeting it. But yeah, it seems last week he had no problem trying to get him the ball, and the week before that, the week before the London game. So yeah, they definitely got that connection. Bijan didn't do much, surprisingly, at the weekend, and they still came out with the win, which was a way I didn't think they could win. So, yeah, fair play to Ridder. It was a really good game as well, I thought. It was like one of them weird games where it was quite intense, quite close all the way through. And I know this isn't my feature game, but it was going to be like the Colts Jags this week. I'm really intrigued by that game. It's already the second time they're playing each other, and it's week 6 this year. But yeah, that's me going off topic. But yeah, go on, Paul. Tell me what you got your second performance of the week.
I'm going with a game that Jay saw live, the Jacksonville Jaguars, and especially their head coach, Doug Peterson, for the scheme that he drew up against Buffalo. So Buffalo, you want to make them one-dimensional. And by one-dimensional, I mean you want to make it all on Josh Allen. And Jacksonville controlled this game up until the very last few minutes of the game when Josh Allen just went berserk, and the end of the game was absolutely crazy. But Jacksonville controlled this game, and they controlled this game by Trevor Lawrence making some big throws and running the ball with a kind of a Shanahan style outside zone running scheme against Buffalo. Now, Jacksonville don't play outside zone. They generally play inside running, as we found out the week before when we both bet on ETN going over rushing yards, and he just slammed it into the line of scrimmage all day long for like 1 yard. This game, they ran outside against the weakness of Buffalo, which is defending the perimeter. And you could see by the end of the game, the Bills D was just gassed. They were totally gassed. I mean, look, they lost some players. Like, it's a real shame that it looks like Matt Milano is going to be done for the year now. Like, superstar middle linebacker, like that's huge for the Bills. But Jacksonville just controlled the game, almost handed it to the Bills at the end. Well, I don't think they handed it to the Bills. I think Josh Allen just tried to take it back with the amazing talent that he is. But the coaching of Jacksonville deserves massive credit for the scheme that they drew up to combat the Bills. And Trevor Lawrence made some clutch throws during that game and just reminded us of the talent that he has, being a former first overall pick. Credit to the Jacksonville Jaguars for how they just controlled this game scheme-wise. Just professional performance, just kind of smothered the Bills. They ran out of gas, the Bills, and well done to Jacksonville, who now go back home. Well, they want to be home here, but go back to America at 3-2, having arrived at 1-2. I didn't see them beating the Bills. We all didn't see them beating the Bills, but they drew up a very well-constructed game plan. So credit to their coach and their quarterback.
Yeah, I think that, like, my points on that, there's two things really I want to add, actually. And then, Jay, if you've got anything you want to add. I thought the play calling was so much more open and inventive compared to the Falcons game, which seemed really like, right, we're not going to make any mistakes. It got the impression that they're thinking, as long as we don't make any mistakes, we're going to beat the Falcons. We don't have to do anything special. And then against the Bills, they're like, right, we need to go above and beyond. We need to be more inventive, otherwise we won't win. And the play calling showed that. The second point, and this might be a bit controversial, I don't know, I don't think it is, but I thought the Jags overall played very good. I think Lawrence almost lost them that game. He had some big fumbles at key moments. There were times when he was getting sacked and he tried to throw the ball away and didn't get it to the line. Penalties were thrown or flags were thrown. Like, he played very good, but there were some really stupid errors that he was making where you've got to hold on and protect that ball, because that's the momentum swing that almost got the Bills back into this game. Obviously, Allen played lights out, but he almost made it easy for them. But yeah, they held on. He made some great plays, don't get me wrong, but I did feel there's a lot that Lawrence still needs to clean up. It's just some experience, I think, on that. But yeah, do you have anything to add on that, Jay?
Well, funnily enough, my performance, I might as well go into
you say Trevor Lawrence.
It was a joint award for Trevor Lawrence and Travis Etienne.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, let's start with the two fumbles. I mean,
maybe I'm being a bit strict. I don't know. I just thought he played very well, and I kept on hearing how amazing he was, and I'm like, but he's making some really silly errors that could hand the initiative back, and that's me, just because I know how good he can be, and I just think, just clean it up. But yeah, go on.
Yeah. I mean, so I look at the two fumbles and I look at them differently. So like the first one, just before the half, I mean, it's on his blind side, so I'm not good. I mean, yes, you would like him to think, I don't have this amount of time, but at the same time, that one was on his blind side, so I can kind of sort of see it as it's just one of those things. The second one, I totally agree. The second one was totally avoidable, in my opinion. He started, he's in the pocket, he starts scrambling left, and then he gets hit, and it's just like, that's a big moment in the game. But I do think that he was very good on the day. I mean, it was a Bills home game, and I'm telling you, having sat there through it, it was a Bills home game. They travelled in numbers. They were loud until Trevor Lawrence was converting these third downs, and then it was oh so quiet. And he converted a lot of third downs, I felt like, watching the game. I'm talking maybe 10 moments where I'm sort of like, the Bills are going to get a stop here. No, they're not. And the throw to Ridley in the fourth quarter on third down, that wasn't just a bullet pass or whatever. That was a nice finessed touch pass to Ridley. He was open, fair enough, but you still have to make the throw. And I think I still agree with you, Rob. I still think there's so much more growth that he can, there's so much potential there. He made some steps last year where I feel I can comfortably say, yeah, you are a top 10 quarterback now. You're probably lower on that list still. And that's why we have all said it over the last few weeks. We want you to make more steps to, maybe challenge that top 5. Who knows? But you're going to have to improve in certain areas. And, the critical moments, like you said, Rob, that fumble at the start of the fourth quarter, that was a drive where I'm sitting there thinking, this could be curtains. They're moving the ball at will here. Like they pretty much had done most of the game.
Yeah.
I look at it and I say, like, at half time, they've dominated this game, but it's only 11-7. So, there's still a few things to work on. Just very quickly, the second person that gets the performance of the week in this game was Travis Etienne. This guy is an explosion waiting to happen, isn't he? I mean, the speed, and you could call it bad Buffalo as well. The Jags had been here 2 weeks. Etienne said after the game, I felt totally different this week than I did last week. The Bills travelled late in the week, so you've got a team that is, still acclimatizing versus a team that is fully ready to go. They took full advantage, yes, but Etienne's speed is crazy. I mean, the first touchdown when they went for 2 points, it's a very, it's a goal line formation. They toss it right to Etienne, and the typical outcome is the running back's going to get there. It's going to be a 2-point conversion, but you'd like to think that, okay, well, one of the defenders is going to get there. They're probably going to make contact at the line, and the running back with his momentum is going to take it in either way. Etienne is so fast that there was no one within 2 or 3 yards, and I'm thinking, whoa, okay, maybe the Bills are jet lagged, but I mean, this guy's speed is crazy. And in the big drives, Lawrence made some big third down conversions, but Etienne made some big runs as well. So he had a great game last year against the Broncos. We all saw it last week. The Jags offense looked completely different. I don't know whether it was we're going to be conservative and we're going to just sucker punch the Bills with all these plays that we've got lined up. But this week, Etienne was on. And if you can create holes for him, he's taking it to the house. So, yeah, Trevor Lawrence, Etienne, performance of the week.
Lovely. Just staying on that, Jay. So you've been to, I think, pretty much all of the London games, maybe bar 1 or 2, if not all of them. Would you say that's the best, loudest atmosphere and most hostile atmosphere you've been to against the team? Because all the games I go to, I've been to, and I don't know what you think, Paul, but it's always been quite a nice crowd. From what I can see on TV, they seem like they hated the Jags. Like, hold on a minute, this is supposed to be like London's team here, and it's literally all Bills. That's how it appeared on TV. Is that how it sounded in the stadium as well?
It was, Rob. This was the most hostile atmosphere at a London game. So there's been, I think, 35 London games, and I've been to 27, and it's never been like this, I don't think. I mean, I was sitting next to a lady from Buffalo, and they have some sort of chant to hype themselves at the start of the game, and it goes something like, "You wouldn't be anywhere else right here, right now." And I thought she was going to burst a blood vessel in her neck because she went, "Right here, right now." And I was like, whoa, okay, this is a different crowd today. But yeah, it was awesome. And, Trevor Lawrence silenced that crowd a number of times on third down. So
I think the jet lag played a huge part. It's a 9 a.m. game on their body clock, isn't it? They arrived Friday. I couldn't believe it. We did the podcast last Wednesday, and I thought they'd already arrived. Like, look at Baltimore.
Terrible decision.
Yeah, the Baltimore Ravens arrived on Tuesday this week. They didn't train today. They had a day off today, and they went around London, did some shopping, did some sightseeing, and Harbaugh was just like, right, just get settled in, just enjoy the trip, and well, you're going to London. And I'm like, that's how I would want to do it. I don't want to go on a Friday night, have a what is it from Buffalo? It's about a 8-hour flight, 8 or 9 hours maybe, and then get here Sunday or Saturday morning, and then have to play in your body clock at 9 a.m. on the Sunday morning. You're not going to start very good. You're probably not going to play good at all for the whole game. So yeah, definitely questions need to be asked from the Bills on that standpoint. But yeah, what a game it was. Finally, some good games in London this year, which is good to see, and hopefully one more this weekend. So that's our performances for the week. Now going on to Step It Up. Paul, do you want to start us off on Step It Up?
Step It Up. Okay, so it's a bit of low-hanging fruit this week. Like, there's some obvious ones to pick on, but I'm going to go with my good friend Bill Belichick, and I don't know, in terms of, like, do I call him the coach or the general manager or both? I think on both counts you could get Bill Belichick this week, because he had his worst loss ever last week, and he followed it up with his second worst loss ever this week. And watching the game back, there wasn't anything that you could say, oh well, at least like there's that, or like there's something to kind of look forward to. Even like the D was just getting handled by the Saints, and the Saints, as I've said week after week, I don't rate the Saints offense much, and they just did what they wanted with this Patriots D. The Patriots, over years, this seems to be a result of years and years of not drafting dynamic players, especially like receivers. There's no speed at all, and it's 2023 NFL. Look at the team that play in their division, Miami are pure speed. New England have no speed at all. When you're drafting and he's my friend from his time on the Steelers, but when you're drafting like Juju Smith-Schuster as your speedy receiver, then you're in massive trouble. The running back seems to have disappeared, who played fairly well last year. I don't know what the Patriots are going to do between now and the end of this year, because they should win games. Huh?
Tank for Caleb Williams.
But that's not
a lot
who
of
they
teams
are.
Thinking that right now.
But they might be tanking for Caleb Williams just by default in terms of they're in a very, very tough division. They're in the AFC. Their schedule is brutal, and they've got no talent. So they want to play hard. It's in their DNA not to lose games, like just give up on games. But I don't know. I just don't see how they're going to win more than 4 or 5 games this year.
The roster that's been neglected, isn't it? In some way, like there's no thought gone into it. It looks from my point of view.
Yeah, I mean,
for sure.
Devontae Parker, no speed at all. Kendrick Bourne, no speed at all. Okay, they've got speed, but not 2023 NFL level. Like you're not game planning. You're not like, oh damn, we're playing the Patriots. Like we're going to have to worry about this guy or this guy. Yeah. Like they just line up. They're very, very. And Bill O'Brien is a good offensive coach, and I mean, he's not like Mike McDaniel or Kyle Shanahan kind of level, but he can still make the most of weapons. We remember what DeAndre Hopkins was when he was on the Texans with Bill O'Brien drawing up plays and Deshaun Watson. Like, he's got not much to work with here in New England. And yeah, I think it's years and years of neglect of drafting dynamic offensive players, and now we're starting to see it. And Belichick won't say a word in the media. He'll just shut it down totally. And if I'm a Patriots fan, then I'm hoping that they'll tank for Caleb Williams. But if I'm Caleb Williams, do I want to go to New England with no speed and no talent, and how they neglect the offensive side of the ball? I don't know. Would you a Caleb Williams? Would you want to go from sunny LA to Foxborough, Massachusetts?
I look at New England and I just think that, and maybe it's just caught in the moment, but I think maybe Bill Belichick's time has come and gone, which is quite harsh. As a head coach / GM in a way, I still think he could put probably the best defensive team out as a DC. He wouldn't want to become a defensive coordinator, but if he was, I still think he would make a nasty defense for someone. He reminds me a bit, if you look at like a football analogy, a little bit like Mourinho, like when he was at Porto and at Chelsea, really successful with that style of play, but you've got to evolve with the times. And now it's the in style of players like your Shanahans, like your McDaniels, where it's speed, like you said. Thinking of these creative play calls, as a rule, it seems most coaches are now offensive minded coaches, because the offense now wins you. Well, they're trying to make it where the offense wins you championships. It's not like in the early 2000s when the Ravens defense would win you a championship, or whenever the Denver Broncos won. I think that was around 2009 or something. I'm not sure, maybe a bit, 2012 or 13, wasn't it? But yeah, it's not like that anymore. There's a lot wrong in New England. Cool. Sorry, Jay, do you have anything to add to that?
Just that they need to make a GM change in New England. New ideas. I think Belichick is still a great coach. He's not going to look like a great coach with this roster that he's built. As I've said in previous weeks, Bill Belichick, the head coach, needs to ring Robert Kraft and say, fire Bill Belichick, the GM.
There you go. You heard it here first. Step it up. Thanks for that, Paul. I'll go with my one now. My first one, I've gone with the Baltimore Ravens offense. I've been thinking this quietly for a few weeks now, and I just took it for, it's just one game, and then it's just 2 games, and now it's been 3 games where they're not playing as I would expect a Harbaugh team to play. And what I mean by that, it's very messy. How many drops? There was like Flowers made a drop at the weekend, and he was just laughing, smiling. And I'm like, I don't know if I would react that way if I just dropped the ball. I'd be beating myself up. Lots of mistakes where Lamar's throwing picks, fumbles. It's just messy. Something's really disjointed there. And they had last weekend? 1 interception, 2 lost fumbles. There were drop passes throughout the game. And yeah, they just look lethargic. And they've looked like it for weeks now. It's not just one game. And I don't know why. Like I said, it's the last thing I expect from a Harbaugh coach team. But something needs to change, because we've been singing Lamar Jackson's praise for quite a long time. And he's done okay, but again, he's still not done enough, really. Again, it's not just him, obviously, but yeah, for me, the whole Ravens offense needs to start stepping it up, and yeah, start providing, because it wasn't good enough against Pittsburgh. Admittedly, Pittsburgh played well, divisional game against probably the biggest rivalry in football. Them one of two or three biggest rivalries in football. But yeah, either of you got anything to add to that? Or
so what I'd say about the Ravens is we've just finished talking about New England and their receivers or lack of playmaking ability at the receiver position, and it hurts you in 2023. I don't put all of this loss on Lamar Jackson. I put it like dead, like on how much money are they paying Odell Beckham, and where was he for the whole game? He was there when Joey Porter Jr. had the pick in the end zone. It wasn't Beckham's fault, but because the ball placement was off. But they're paying Beckham a lot of money, and have we seen him through?
Didn't he leave the game early? I thought he got injured, Beckham.
He keeps getting injured.
Yeah, that's the problem.
Yeah, but can he play through the? You're not going to question his attitude, but like there are certain players that miss plays and miss games. He's got his money, hasn't he? He sat out for a long time now. He's been paid. And that Rashad Bateman dropped. Did you see the drop from Bateman in the
end? It was shot. It was a shocker. It was as simple a catch as you're ever going to see.
That's a former first-round pick at receiver. That's what the Ravens are dealing with. Like they've been trying to draft. They're trying to transition from Greg Roman and just we're going to run it all day long. They're trying to transition into this mixed offense, and it's not working like they thought it would. And if you let Pittsburgh hang around for long enough, then there's a danger that they'll come back. But that game shouldn't have even been close. Like the Ravens handled that game and just let the Steelers hang around. Like had a block punt for a safety. Like how many mistakes did the Ravens make to just and how much? Like let's think about how much the Ravens are going to rue this when we're in December, January. They were going to, if they'd beaten the Steelers, they were going to have beaten every team in the AFC North on the road and would have been 2 games clear at the top of the division. Now
they should be 5-0.
And they're 3-2, and they're not even top of the division.
Yeah. It's insane when you look at that division. Pittsburgh, top of the division, 3-2. Do you know what's scary though? Is the fact that I feel like all I've been thinking every week is how bad the Bengals are, and they're only 1 game behind being divisional leaders.
Yeah,
the Ravens missed the big opportunity.
Suddenly their quarterback can throw again. The Bengals. How scary are the Bengals?
So that's a tight division. That it's going to be good fun to watch because you could put an argument. All 4 of them teams could win that division. If Deshaun Watson comes back anyway, then you could include Cleveland. But all 4 of them are in with a shout.
Yep.
But yeah, cool. So Jay, what about your first step it up for week 4, 5?
Well, funnily enough, and I'll keep this short, it was the Ravens offense. I'll just add a few points. I think that there was like 4 dropped touchdowns in that game. I mean, did you see the Aguilar one? The Aguilar one is a walk-in touchdown.
Yeah.
Mark Andrews had one. In that final few minutes, Lamar play action down to Zay Flowers, doesn't get his feet right and falls over. That's probably going to be a walk-in touchdown for 80 yards.
Yeah.
So I definitely put the weight of this on the receivers.
Yeah.
But I do there's still a few things with Lamar that I will say. So the interception, it was a bad throw. Like we know the placement wasn't there. I don't really think that was a great call considering the sort of circumstances your offense has struggled, and that's what you're dialing up, just a jump ball. I don't know about that. Maybe just run it and take the 3 if you have to. I think that they've gone too far away from Lamar's identity. Lamar is, for me, a very good thrower, bordering elite thrower. But he's an elite runner. And I'm not saying that they've gone from one extreme to the other. You're running too much, and so you're getting injured and not finishing the season. But now you're just passing too much, and you're not using your legs as much as we'd like to. There needs to be somewhere in the middle where we can say, look, use your legs, but just avoid contact the way that Rodgers in his prime did, the way that Mahomes does, the way that Wilson back in his day did. You know, they all used their legs, but they just said, I'm going to give myself up. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yep.
I think that they need to get back to that to some degree. I mean, I'm not saying that, you know, if those receivers catch the ball, this is a blowout. You know, end of, and we're not talking about this. But I just feel like, you know, don't take too much away from Lamar. Now, this is going to be a difficult one, and this might sound hypercritical, but on these fumbles, and there's been a lot of them, this is the kind of difference where I think Lamar is an elite quarterback in the range of maybe 5 to 8, maybe somewhere around that. But this is the difference between being an elite quarterback and being the best quarterback in Patrick Mahomes, because Lamar just doesn't feel the rush. Like, he doesn't have that sense of urgency in those moments the way that Mahomes does. I mean, some of the plays that Mahomes made in the Vikings game, there was one in particular where the pocket's collapsing and he can't see behind him. He can't see it, but he knows it's there. So he takes off and he's running, and I'm thinking, oh, well, he's going to get the first down here. He's not even thinking like just one way. He's like, wait, I know the play. I know that Kelsey's to my left. I'm going to take a quick look. Bang, throws it to Kelsey, who's open, and they get an extra 10 yards. And that's kind of the gap at the moment, I think, for Lamar. Mm. And I'm not saying that he's going to get there. And I'm not saying that that makes him a bad player. But that is the difference. That's the gap. Like, from being sort of between 5 and 8 to number 1, you've got to be able to anticipate those situations. And I know it was loud in there, but even more so, that means that you really have to be on it to sort of say, well, it's TJ Watt, it's Alex Highsmith. Am I really going to have 4 seconds here? So yeah. I don't know if you can. I don't know if you can teach that. It's not necessarily a criticism, but it is what it is. You're an elite player, but if you want to be the very best, you've got to clean up these fumbles some way, somehow.
On the Mahomes comment, there was another play he made as well that sort of defied physics, where I can't remember who it was, but he came around and was about to get him on his blind side, and he didn't even bring his arm all the way back to make the throw. It must have been about a 15, 20-yard pass. He literally brought it halfway back because he didn't have time to go all the way back and throw it. But that's why I was like, that defies the laws of physics. He brought it like halfway back, and it still just beamed straight through to the receiver, and they made the first down. It was, what he does with the football is incredible. But cool. So, Paul, your second step it up performance of week 5
is Mike McCarthy, the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys. He talked quite a bit in this offseason and managed to get probably the best coach that the Cowboys had, past tense had, Kellen Moore. Not fired, but, well, they got rid of him, and he's now coaching Justin Herbert. So Justin Herbert's delighted about it. Mike McCarthy, if you just watch that game back in terms of who it was not a chess match. It was very straightforward for San Francisco. The Dallas D is very, Dallas offense is very predictable and very, like, you can game plan for this Dallas offense. Like, it's very straightforward. Dak Prescott, we have said, is not the greatest in the big moments, but he does need some help, and he does need some help in terms of scheme and in terms of like drawing up some plays. They've got some talent, Dallas, but you've got to the stark comparison going up against probably one, or if not the best coached team, was very dramatic. Watching how Dallas are coached up and how San Francisco are coached up on both sides of the ball. San Francisco, but Dallas, it would be their offense. I don't know what he was doing in that time that he was away from football, apparently studying analytics and drawing up plays, but maybe he's forgotten them already. Maybe he didn't bring them back with him, but Dallas needs something, and that was a comprehensive schooling from probably the best team currently in the NFL on. That's the level, and Dallas are not that level in terms of talent, but you've at least got to put your players in the best possible position to succeed. And I don't think that Mike McCarthy is doing that as a play caller. So he needs to, like we were saying with Bill Belichick, maybe remove himself for the good of the team from play calling duties if Dallas are going to reach their potential. But I don't think he will, because of his ego and because of the way that this team are run from Jerry Jones. Jerry Jones chose Mike McCarthy. Apparently he chose Mike McCarthy just purely based on the fact that Green Bay always used to beat the Cowboys in the playoffs. And I don't think it was Green Bay. It was Mike McCarthy that beat the Cowboys in the playoffs. I think I could be wrong, but I'm sure I'm not. It was Aaron Rodgers who beat the Cowboys in the playoffs, not Mike McCarthy's supposed genius play calling. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I feel it's hard for me to say because I've never felt this before. But do I feel sorry for Dallas?
Nah.
No, I don't feel sorry for Dallas, but they're not giving the best that they could. Their head coach is a trash play caller, and he just needs to remove himself from the situation for the good of the team.
Nice one.
Yeah,
agree with everything you said there. My second step it up is from a player I've never really rated. I know both of you like him a little bit more than I do. It's Jordan Love. I still haven't. He's exactly the player I thought he was going to be from what I've seen so far. He's not a franchise quarterback. We're now 5 weeks into the season. Started off not too bad, but nothing special. But the problem is, teams starting to get tape on Mr. Love now. So there's not that unpredictability that he had right at the beginning of the year. And this was Green Bay against Las Vegas. The Raiders haven't looked good at all in the last few weeks. Green Bay made them look considerably better than what they've looked over the last few weeks. He was 16 of 30. Threw for 182 yards and 3 interceptions with no passing touchdowns. Had a 32 rating and a 13 QBR. That's 1-3 QBR. That's not good enough, I'm afraid. Obviously, he's going to have time. He's going to probably have most of this year, if not all of the year, to turn it around. I wish him nothing but the best, but I don't see anything that's making me suggest he's going to turn it around. I really don't see anything there that is going to make me think he should be a starting quarterback. I think I would rather have Minshew starting at quarterback than Jordan Love. So that's my second step it up of the week. Don't know if either of you have anything to add to that. If not,
well, my step it up is another joint award, and it is Jordan Love, and it is Matt LaFleur.
yep.
So I do think it's a little bit harsh to judge Jordan Love that way in this situation. I'll go into the game, but I don't think we'd be saying this about Jordan Love if he was in San Francisco. And I don't think we would be applauding Brock Purdy the way that we're applauding Brock Purdy if he was in Green Bay, because the supporting cast matters. The scheme matters. And I look at this Packers roster and I say, who's good here? You know, who are you taking on your team from that roster today? Jair Alexander? Yep. Bakhtiari when he is healthy.
Which is
I would.
Yeah.
But I'm looking at everyone else and I'm sort of set, you know, Aaron Fumble Jones, I'm not taking you. And that's their star running back. But anyway, off topic. The game itself, three interceptions. So the last one, he was a bit late on. So yeah, okay. I can live with that one. The second one was a contested throw that got tipped and intercepted. That one was more questionable. But the one that I cannot accept is the first one. The first one tells me regression, because I don't know what he saw on that play. There were two Raiders lining up for that one. That one is a real red flag, a real concern to say, what are you seeing there? Like that's a really poor interception in a critical moment in the game where it was close. Maybe the Packers were leading at that point. But I'm not gonna hold this loss all against Love, because watching the way that they run this offense, Matt LaFleur is just playing as if, I don't know, we're trying our best not to make a mistake, so every throw has to be in the flat or on a hitch route. You just can't play that way. How are you going to empower your quarterback if all you're doing is running? We're going to run, and then we're going to throw it to the flat, or we're going to throw a little hitch route, and then we're going to run it a lot more again. Like at times, they're happy to run it on first down, run it on second down, and if it's 3rd and 5, they might actually run it again and hope to get it. And I think that when I look at what happened with the 49ers in the Cowboys game, Shanahan has had the same sort of problem where he gets too in love with the run game and it doesn't empower the quarterback. But this game against the Cowboys, he let Purdy loose. He said, we're going to throw it from the first drive to get him in rhythm. And I think that is showing up for me in Green Bay. LaFleur has got a great record, and maybe this scheme worked when he had an all-time great quarterback. But you've got basically a rookie quarterback now. You can't just let him say, it's 3rd and 6, go and get it. You've got to let him play and make the mistakes this year. Yeah. Now, I don't want to see the mistake we saw with the first interception again. That would be really worrying if we continue to see Love on that trajectory. But the others you can live with. I just think the Packers, we're looking at a team that has been heavily overrated for a decade now. This roster is not a good roster. Rodgers made it look better than it was and somehow got the blame for their failures. Something has to change in Green Bay. Otherwise, this quarterback is going to go into the toilet as well.
Quite a common trend when you think about it. If you look at who people would consider all-time great quarterbacks, so definitely put Rodgers there. He leaves, the team is struggling big time, or they're struggling. They're not the same team Brady leaves New England, they struggle. Even when he's left Tampa Bay, they're not the same team. There was another one like Drew Brees when he left New Orleans. They're still good, but that quarterback was the difference between them being good and next level. And I think that's going to take a long time to fix, because you basically have to. I would just say it's like ripping off a Band-Aid. You just have to blow it up and start again, because you can't do it with the same players, but without the quarterback, it seems, based off of the evidence so far, anyway. And Paul, your second step it up performance of the week?
I've gone through second one.
Oh, sorry, have you done both of yours already?
Yeah, I've done Cowboys and
nice one. All right, so that's step it up for this week. So now let's go on to our top 5. What should we do? Let's do top 5 quarterbacks for week 5. So I'll start us off. I'm going to start from number 1, because I think it's more obvious. 1 and 2 are at least pretty clear, and it gets a bit more questionable or iffy when you get to 4 and 5. So I'm sticking with Mahomes as my number 1 quarterback. Reason being is, again, he got the win. So 4 wins in a row now, having started 0-1, they're now 4-1. He had to do it without Kelsey for parts of the game. That's hopefully he'll be okay going forward, Mr. Pfizer. But who knows? When Kelsey was out, made some good throws. Apart from one drop, I can't remember who it was, the rookie, but Rice stepped up with some good catches. And again, he did what was needed, got them over the line. Vikings is always a banana skin match. Like, they can turn up and just outperform anyone on their day. I like the McDuffie-Jefferson matchup, which I was looking forward to before the game. Unfortunately, it didn't go on for as long as I'd hoped. But yeah, Mahomes number 1. Number 2, I'm sticking with Allen. He didn't do much wrong, really, in the game against the Jags. When you take everything into consideration with the travelling, what time it would have been that they started in terms of his body clock, still played pretty well, made some great throws, made some first downs with his legs when needed. Impressed with what I saw. He did make a pick, but again, it was basically a long punt. The pick, from what I remember, it was a 3rd down play, and the pick was inside their 5, I believe. So it was just a very good punt when you look at it that way. 3rd, I'm going with Jalen Hurts. Reason being is the quarterback's job is to get you wins. Jalen Hurts is doing that. You could argue that he should be my number 2. But not just that. I like that his leadership, and he can throw it on you again. There are questions about his arm, but he can. The runs that he made last week against the Rams, he's so hard to bring down. As a defense, he must be a nightmare to play against. He's a thicker Lamar Jackson, obviously not as fast, but he's a leader, man. Like that O-line, them wide receivers love playing with him, and that's exactly what you want from your quarterback. Number 4, I'm toing and swaying. I'm going with Purdy. It's the 2nd time he's been in my top 5 quarterbacks this year, and a lot of the same of what I said about Hurts. Judge a quarterback on, do they get you the wins? He has. That's why he's in my top 5. Again, similar to Hurts, the players love playing with him. When the pressure moment, so I'd say that was the biggest moment for them as a team against that Dallas Cowboys defense. They made them look quite pedestrian, but that is a good defense. I don't care what anyone says. That is, the team might be overrated, but the defense isn't overrated. Not the same beast with Diggs out, admittedly, but he stepped up. I think he threw for 4 touchdowns. Correct me if I'm wrong there, Jay. But I think it was 4 touchdowns he threw for. Had 3 throwing and 1 rushing. I can't remember, but he definitely had part of 4 touchdowns. And yeah, he actually was let loose. He threw the ball, and he throws the ball on time. He's accurate. You've mentioned a few times already, Jay, like, he doesn't have the biggest arm. You don't need the biggest arm in that offense. We've got so many skilled players. Get them the ball in open space. What coach would you want to do that? Kyle Shanahan. Who's his coach? Kyle Shanahan. I think it's a perfect fit. A bit like Mahomes and Andy Reid, Purdy and Shanahan. I think in a few years' time, we could look at this in a similar way where this is a match made in heaven for both. And then my number 5 might be jumping the gun a bit here, but I was delighted to see a return of one Joe Burrows. Finally. Chase, I think, set a record for the amount of receptions in one game for the Bengals. I can't remember exactly how many it was. I think it was about 15 or 16 receptions. And he seems to be moving a bit better. He actually scrambled a few times, which I haven't seen at all this year. So with that health, I would be worried if I was the Ravens, if I was the Browns, if I was the Steelers, thinking, crap, we've had 5 games and they've been as bad as they probably can be, and they're only 1 game behind. The Bengals are going to get better. Burrows is going to continue getting better. I don't know if T. Higgins is out for the whole year. I don't know if you guys know that or not, if he will return or not. If he does return, this is going to get scary at the end of the year again. This team is stacked on offense. And yeah, I think Burrows very quickly is going to climb up this top 5 list, and be up there with Mahomes. So that's my top 5 for week 5. Jay, do you want to give us your top 5?
Yep, sure. So what did we have last week? We had Mahomes number 1, Allen 2, Tua 3, Herbert 4, CJ Stroud 5. I agree. I think Burrow looked really good last week. He's not quite made my top 5 yet, but he is on his way for sure. I'm going to start with a trivia question for my number 5. There are 2 quarterbacks in the NFL who have thrown over 1,200 yards with no touchdowns.
Right.
I would like you guys to name them. I'll give you a few more clues. They are both top 5 in yards per attempt. So there's no like we're throwing checkdowns to not throwing interceptions here. They are both top 10 in passing touchdowns, and they are both top 10 in passer rating.
And so that first one you said they've thrown for over 1,200 yards.
1,200 yards this season with 0 touchdowns. 0 interceptions.
That's what I was going to say. Hold on a minute. Right, 0 interceptions. So
that's Purdy.
Yeah.
Purdy hasn't thrown a pick.
Correct.
And your friend, number 5 from last week, CJ Stroud.
Yeah, CJ.
CJ Stroud.
And he set a record, hasn't he? The most passing attempts without an interception for a starting quarterback, I think I read.
Yes, he has. And as I said, they're both top 5 in yards per attempt. So there's no sort of we're throwing check.
Yeah.
They are throwing down.
Put it that way. They're not thrown behind the line.
So this was a difficult one for me because the degree of difficulty is obviously far greater for CJ Stroud. But I just think the emphaticness of Purdy's performance this week puts him at 5 for me in the top 5. So CJ Stroud does drop out. He did put together, in the end, what could have been a game-winning drive.
Yeah.
In the end, they lose it because of Ridder also putting together a similar drive. wasn't his best week, granted. Like, you know, if you don't want it to come down to that, put the game away. So Purdy at 5 this week. I mean, Herbert stays at 4. He didn't play, so I can't really drop him or push him up. So he stays where he is for this week. At 3, Tua stays at 3. Beat the Giants, took care of business. Again, I can't really, jump you over Allen because of that. So Allen stays at 2. Bills, they all got off to a slow start, very sluggish, then exploded when it was a little bit too late in the end. So he stays at 2, and then Mahomes at 1. Mahomes, I just see so much completeness from his game, the finest details. I mean, I go back to that play that I talked about earlier. Just every inch of the play, he's wired on. Like, what can happen? Am I going to get sacked? Do I run now? He's so much more than just the talent now. Like, he's becoming the complete quarterback. And he doesn't need to get to 7 Super Bowls for me to be the GOAT. Like, I can see this happening already, where I will say one day, this man is the greatest of all time. Obviously, he has to keep going. But I don't personally think it comes down to number 7. I just think he needs to keep doing what he's doing. And I'm sure those Super Bowls will come anyway. But yeah, Mahomes clearly at 1.
Perfect. Thank you, Jay. And Paul, your top 5 quarterbacks for week 5?
So last week we had Mahomes, Allen, Lamar Jackson, Tua, and then Herbert. The list is similar this week. The one I had problems with, that I had trouble with, was Lamar. How much do I put on him? How much do I put on his receivers, like we touched upon earlier? So I'll run through from 5 to 1 what I ended up with. Herbert stays at 5, didn't play, can't fault him. I think he's ridiculously talented. He needs to be in this top 5. New entrant at number 4, Brock Purdy. How scary is it that, by the way, now San Francisco can throw the ball as well at that level? Like, he had 17 completions for 4 touchdowns. He hasn't thrown a pick, as we said earlier on. Like, how scary is that? That now you've got to, if they do scheme to take away CMC, then they can devastate you that way with all the weapons that they've got in the outside passing game, with probably, well, if not the best, in the top 2 play callers in the NFL. Like, ridiculous. Tua at number 3, he did remind us that he does throw some dumb picks from time to time against the Giants. It was against the Giants, so he got away with it. But they could come back to bite you later on in the year. He's super aggressive, and he maybe just needs to calm down a little bit. Did you see that? Do you remember that play where they motioned Tyreek Hill? The corner wasn't lined up. There was no one covering Tyreek Hill, so the corner ran over to Tyreek to cover Tyreek, and Hill just looked over at Tua like, "Okay, you see what I see? You see what I see?" Like, right, and he just set off, and it was just a bomb straight touchdown. Like, you can tell from the fact that the corner has to run to him. There's no help for the Giants in the Giants secondary. Just ridiculous. So he's aggressive, but he needs to calm down. He's going to throw some dumb picks. Josh Allen, like, he's so talented, but he needs some help from the rest of his team. He really does. They've got absolutely no running game, and how many years now have Buffalo not had a running game? They're just not helping him at all. Like we were talking about before, defensive coach not putting the ridiculously talented quarterback that they have in the best possible position to win games, because he's good enough to challenge Mahomes. He doesn't have Mahomes' situation with Andy Reid. And number one, Patrick Mahomes, the best quarterback in the NFL. It's not even a conversation. That's my top 5.
Okay, so that's the top 5 quarterbacks through week 5. Now go on to the top 5 teams. So I guess starting with my top 5. Number 5, I found a bit more difficult than I thought I would. I ended up going with the Dolphins, but I was very close to putting another team in there purely because if I was looking at when it comes to playoffs and the weather, I do have questions how this Dolphins team will play in the winter. But I almost put the Lions in as my top 5 team. I just like how they're coached and just how all 3 phases of the game, they're just a solid team. And they're a team no one wants to play, I don't think. It's always going to be a hard game. But I've gone with the Dolphins just because that offense is scary. The coach is calling up plays that are just great to watch. And it's an offensive league now, so you need to have an offense like that. I think at the weekend, A-Chain set the fastest speed a player has ran all year. And then literally 3 or 4 plays later, Tyreek Hill broke it. It was like, it's just not fair. Like, they are so quick. Still have concerns with the defense, more so the secondary. But yeah, that offense is always going to give you a chance to win games. Number 4, I've gone with the Bills. And I don't know how much to take what happened in the London game. I've got to look at the games before that where they were looking incredibly impressive. You can't just forget about the game against the Dolphins where they schooled them. There were extenuating circumstances last week, so I'll give them 1 free pass on that. See how they do this week. But still, a bit like the Dolphins, no one is ever going to look forward to playing the Bills, especially the defenses. How you stop Allen is the $1 million question. It's like similar with Hurts and Purdy now, and with the Dolphins. It's like choose your poison because they can beat you with their legs, they can beat you with their arms. Like with Purdy, they can beat you with CMC or with Purdy throwing it. There's just so many different ways, and Allen on his own has so many different ways. Chiefs number 3. I can't put them any higher than this because it's not a quarterback ranking, it's a team ranking. And unfortunately for Mahomes, especially if Kelsey isn't raring to go, they're really struggling at the skill positions. I'm praying that they make some trades before the deadline because it would be just unforgivable to give Mahomes at least another wide receiver, someone with a bit of experience that you can throw to in the 3rd downs on 3rd and long, like Brady had with Welker and with Edelman. When he was at Tampa Bay, he'd throw it to Evans usually in the 3rd down or Godwin, like Breeze had with Thomas. Manning had it with Marvin Harrison and then Reggie Wayne. Like he needs someone. He's got Kelsey, but you need that wide receiver as well, and they don't have that. Juju was a big miss. Hopefully they can get someone to go in the next few weeks. And then, I found it quite easy from this point. Eagles number 2, based off of performances up until now. I do think they are scary. That game when the 49ers play the Eagles is going to be an incredible game. I don't know where it's at. Where is it, Jay?
In Philly.
In Philly. So that, I think, like, I see the 49ers probably losing 2 games this year, and I think that will probably be one of them, which I think is a good thing. I don't like the added stress of trying to have an unbeaten season and things like that. It's you just need to let it go. But yeah, the pass rush. Carter had a huge sack at the weekend, which was awesome to see. And just how they beat you. Same thing like I was mentioning with Allen. They can beat you with the run. They can beat you by throwing it. And then if you think, right, we stopped them on 3rd and 10 or 3rd and 9, and they're 1 yard, even 2 yards short, they'll sneak it. no one can stop it. We've not seen. There's not many better in terms of Aaron Donald, who you would want pushing up against that O-line, and still they made 2 yards on pretty much every play, if not more, when they ran that. What is it? The tush push or whatever it's called now.
The brotherly shove.
Brotherly shove. I don't think it should be outlawed. It's part of the rules, like find a way to stop it. It's 11 against 11. And yeah, we'll see what happens there. But yeah, number one, 49ers. How can it not still? 49ers have been my number one now, I think, for 3 or 4 weeks. And it's comfortable. Similar to the Eagles. My only concern with the 49ers, and I've said it all year, is the secondary. But the way that front seven is playing, Warner, his leadership ability, the offensive line, Williams is just an absolute beast. He's just ridiculous on the O-line. Purdy, the weapons on the outside, CMC, the coach, everything just seems to have aligned for 49ers this year. And yeah, it's going to be, without looking too far ahead, it's the best year the best chance they're going to get probably. I can't see how they're going to have a better chance to win the Super Bowl this year. Obviously, a lot of stuff has to happen, and obviously health has to be a part of it. But if they stay healthy, this team is going to be so hard to beat, especially when it comes to winter. Because again, they will run the ball on you. They can do the short passes to their skill set positions and make plays out of nothing. And in the winter, in the rain, in the wind, in the snow, you want a solid front seven, and they're a match for anyone. So that's my top 5. Jay, do you want to give us your top 5?
So my top 5 this week has the same 5 teams as it did last week. And it has the same 5 teams that you have, Rob.
Okay.
So number 5, we've got the Dolphins. Still think that this offense is the hottest offense in the NFL, despite what the 49ers did on Sunday night. They actually dropped down this week, even though they won. But I couldn't put them above the team that is number 4, which is the Buffalo Bills, because we saw 2 weeks ago when they played each other that, the Bills, when they play at their best, can dominate the Dolphins. And when we get to January, cold weather, that could be a huge factor. So Dolphins at 5. I'm going to do the same as you, Rob. I think that the decision to travel on Thursday, Friday, just set up that team to fail. Mm-hmm. It wasn't a good first half from the Bills. When they woke up, it was kind of too late. So I'm not gonna, let the team suffer. They dropped 1 place, so they were 3 last week. They're now 4. The team that has jumped from 5 to 3 is the Kansas City Chiefs. They're winning. They are winning. But there is a lot wrong still with this team in terms of playing with the very best teams, I think. We know Mahomes is going to keep you in any game. He's proven that time and time again. But it's just not quite there, is it, with the Chiefs? Defensively, they've done very well. But have they come up against a juggernaut offense yet? I don't think so. So we're gonna really find out what they're made of when they start playing these bigger teams. And New Year's Eve, for example, Chiefs Bengals. That will be a great game. Looking forward. But they have been winning, and they've been kind of professional wins, if you like. They're not blowing teams out, but they're getting the job done. I agree. They definitely have to make something happen before this trade deadline in the receiving area, because we can say that, give these guys time and, hope they'll develop. Every year for Mahomes is a chance to win a Super Bowl. We can't do that. We can't just hope. We have to win now. So they are at 3 for obvious reasons, because at 1 and 2, we've got 2 just absolutely stacked teams in every way possible. They are on a collision course for the 3rd of December. Hopefully, everyone stays healthy until that. Hopefully, everyone stays healthy for the whole season, because we could get some very, very epic games between these two teams. But there's one team that is getting the job done, and that's great. And there's one team that is blowing everyone out that they're playing. Now, you don't want to peak too soon. We're in October. How long can this team keep blowing other teams out? We'll see. But number 2, it is the Eagles. What can we say about them? The trenches just overwhelm you. And I cannot wait to see these matchups. The Eagles offensive line versus the 49ers front 7. That is going to be just a car crash of just physicality. But then we've also got the Eagles defensive line, which again is jumping off the page. I guess the one question mark I do have is about, why are the Eagles giving up so many yards in the air? I still don't understand it. They're not giving up, a great deal of points every week. They've had a few, but I just don't know. Maybe it's just we're so early in the season that they're not yet at their full capacity. But they are giving up a lot of yards in the air. The offense is definitely growing. As I said earlier, I thought Hurts played really well. The stats may not really show that, but I just think in the context of the game, he made a lot of big throws that I haven't seen him make in previous weeks. We know he's good with his legs, but he's being asked to throw more now, because I think teams are sort of at least trying to sell out on the run. So I definitely see this team just continuing to get better and better and better. Number 1, how about them Niners? They are still number 1 on Jay's top 5. The first team to survive as number 1 for consecutive weeks. We've scored 30 in every game. This week, 42. Top 3 in points allowed, top 3 in yards allowed. The defense is thriving. We haven't seen the best of Nick Bosa yet. Instead, we've been seeing, and I'm going to keep calling him by his nickname, the Gravedigger, that is Javon Hargrave. He is blowing shit up every week.
He's a unit.
My goodness me, you better double him, because 1-on-1 in this unit, he's having a field day.
He's a unit of his own. He's giant.
He's giant. I look at the offense, and right now, and I'm trying not to be biased, but I don't know if there's a more complete set of weapons. You've got CMC, you've got Debo, you've got Ayuk, you've got Kittle, you've got Kyle Patrick Juszczyk when you want to use him. But you've got others. You've got the rookie Bell. You've got Purdy. You've got a great offensive line, great schemer. Juwan Jennings, who's clutch on 3rd down for us. Number 1. And I would say right now, no disrespect to the Eagles, but it's not close. They are number 1, and they deserve to be.
Yeah. Good stuff. Thanks for that, Jay. And Paul, your top 5 teams for week 5.
So my top 5, I am conscious of not overreacting to what I've seen, especially this last week. So I've got, right, from 5 through to 1. I've got Miami at number 5. I've got Miami at number 5. They are not built to go on the road into Buffalo in January and beat the Bills. But we don't know that that game's going to be in Buffalo. And we don't know that, like, it's not going to be in Kansas City. But the signs from Miami are that they're a track team who need a fast track, fast conditions. But there was one bad piece of news coming out of Miami this week, and that is their running back, A-Chain, is out for a month. That's big. So how can they survive through this month? But Miami at number 5. Number 4, I've got the Bills. They dropped to number 4. They were number 3 last week. They just reminded me of how unbalanced they are. So it's all Josh Allen. And that's great. That's great because Josh Allen is great. But you've got to have some sort of run. When Josh Allen is your quarterback and Josh Allen is your biggest weapon and he's your best running back, that's a problem. Because eventually he's going to break down. And yeah, like they've got to find some sort of running game from somewhere, or they're not going to, if they do make it out of the AFC, they're not going to beat the Niners or the Eagles in the Super Bowl. They just won't. They're just not balanced enough. Look at how balanced those two teams are. It's just not, they need to do a better job of, so Buffalo, prime candidate, go and get a running back. When Jonathan Taylor was out there, there's some veteran running backs who still are unemployed. Go and get a running back. Just help Josh Allen. He's your best chance of winning a Super Bowl ever. The Bills have never won a Super Bowl ever. Like, help him out. Number 3, the Chiefs. I agree with what you guys have said. They do need to help Mahomes, but he can do it, and he's shown us that he can do it. And they're winning games like with methodical. They'll kill you with 1,000 cuts rather than like 200-yard receiving games from Tyreek Hill like it used to be in the past. They haven't got the weapons, but they do have the best weapon in Mahomes, and he's going to win. He's going to win enough games for you to probably be the number 1 seed in AFC. I do worry for them though, going up against potentially the number 2 and number 1 in my power rankings. That would be in this order: the Eagles number 2. We haven't seen what they're capable of. I think they'll just turn it on as and when they need to. And we're only going to see that, I think, when they play the Niners later on in the season. What I pray for is that these two teams, the Eagles and the Niners, make it to that game and make it to the playoffs unscathed, because we all know what happened last year with the Niners at the Eagles in the NFC title game. We were robbed of the contest, a heavyweight contest that it should have been. So that's what I hope for in the NFC. And I'm just surprised in how the NFC is top loaded, and the AFC has some serious teams. But going into the season, we all thought the AFC, the Super Bowl champion, should come from the AFC. The AFC is stacked. Turns out the AFC is probably stacked with, probably above average teams. The NFC's top loaded with these juggernauts of the Eagles and the Cowboys. Eagles and the Niners. Definitely not the Cowboys. The Niners are just so well-rounded. Coach, quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end, and then your versatile player in Deebo Samuel. The defensive players that they have, just, it doesn't matter that they're not weak, but that's their weakest part of their team in the secondary, because the pass rush will get home before it even becomes a problem. And by the way, the secondary played immense against the Cowboys. So don't know how much of a weakness that is. The Niners, I just really hope that the Niners and the Eagles make it to that game unscathed. An honourable mention to some teams who are coming up in the rails of my top 5. Bengals, just because Joe Burrow can now actually step into his throwing motion, which is, like we said, bad news for the rest of the AFC. The Seattle Seahawks, who quietly are a pretty damn good roster, by the way, and the Detroit Lions, who are just handling business. And we forget week 1 went into Kansas City and beat Mahomes. Well, Kadarius Toney beat Mahomes, but the Lions played a solid game, and Detroit are just handling business very quietly, and that division's going to be theirs. So we'll see what the Lions can do moving forward. But yeah, that's my top 5.
Nice one. I saw on a just completely different topic. Jefferson, I think, has been put on the IR, hasn't he?
4 weeks. Yep.
A month, yes.
I saw Adam Schefter note when the trade deadline was for Jefferson. Now, this might be a bit far-fetched, but if I'm Kansas Chiefs, I'm calling up the Vikings. I'm saying I'm going to give you Chris Jones, and I'm going to give you multiple firsts and seconds for Jefferson. If they can somehow get Jefferson, oh man, I know it might be a bit fetched, but
well, to be fair, Rob, are the Vikings willing to pay Jefferson?
I don't think that's what I mean. That's why I think it's worth a phone call. I know Chris Jones would be a loss, but geez, can you imagine Kelsey, Jefferson, and Mahomes on that offense? What
are the Vikings going to do with so Cousins is out of there, so they lose that salary, they gain that salary cap, so they could pay Jefferson and draft a quarterback.
I don't think they want to. That's the thing.
They don't
be
want
a question mark.
Well, then they're dumb, and then they deserve what's coming to them.
I would test their resolve and just say, okay, look, we'll give you Chris Jones, we'll give you some firsts. They're all going to be probably they're not going to be any lower than the 25th pick. I doubt for the next few years. Not whilst Mahomes is your quarterback. Throw in a second or a third. How many of these drafts have actually hit for the Chiefs?
Agreed. Yeah.
But worth to test their resolve. But so that's our top 5 quarterbacks, top 5 teams. So now it's time for featured games. So let's start from the top, just purely based on ESPN's schedule. The first one is Paul. You're going with Seattle at the Bengals, if I remember right. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
So
you want to start us off?
Yeah. So this is a pretty sneaky, interesting game because the Bengals are not all the way back, but they handled business against Arizona, and Burrow can throw, has got the velocity in his throws kind of back. He threw for 190 just to his good friend, LSU ex-teammate Jamar Chase. And Cincinnati are very well balanced now if they can throw the ball. They ran the ball with Mixon 25 times. But this matchup to me is fascinating because Seattle, before they were on the bye last week, Seattle before the bye went into New York, handled the Giants, which is not difficult these days. But the corner that they drafted, Devon Witherspoon,
amazing,
is a shutdown corner. He's got the potential to be a shutdown corner. He was a second drafted defensive player behind Will Anderson. He was drafted ahead of Jalen Carter. Now, Seattle, one of Seattle's strengths is now their secondary with Woolen, Witherspoon, Diggs, and Jamal Adams is back. He's should have cleared concussion. So that secondary is now reminding us of back in the 2013 days, the Legion of Boom sort of days. You don't want to call them Legion of Boom yet, but they've got some serious talent. That's the strength of Seattle going up against the strength of the Bengals, which would be their passing game. Burrow, Chase, T. Higgins, who's questionable but should play. Now, this game, I kind of see a bit of a shootout. I see a back and forth because Cincinnati want to throw the ball. Seattle want to throw the ball. Seattle will mix in a bit of running, but one of the big strengths of the Bengals is their D line, and they can shut down a running game. So I think Seattle are kind of a sneaky bad matchup for the Bengals, and this is a huge test for Cincinnati. Can they, if Seattle, as they should do, if Seattle play man-to-man and just line up their two corners man-to-man, like press coverage against Chase and Higgins and say, right, we're going to make it difficult for you. And that gives them, but the problem they have is that their pass rush is not great, Seattle. I know they had like 12 sacks or whatever stupid number it was against the Giants, but they don't have a great pass rush. The Giants have a terrible O-line. That's what I want to see happen in this game. Like Witherspoon up against Jamar Chase and like just man against man, like who wants it more, like a proper matchup on the outsides. But I do see a lot of points, and my prediction for this game would be, I don't even want to call a winner because I've only seen it once from the Bengals. The over-under is 46. I see over 46 points. See over 46 points all day. But
what's the weather like? What's the weather report? Have you seen it in Cincinnati? Because it's just about that time now where it's starting to turn.
I have not seen the weather report.
No.
But you're usually my weather correspondent.
I am. Sorry about that. I'll have a look on Saturday and let you know, mate.
Have you not come prepared?
Nah.
No, but this game, play man-to-man on the Bengals receivers. Don't do what Arizona did. Arizona played off coverage against Jamar Chase, despite what he was doing. And 15 catches for 192 and 3 touchdowns. That's what happens when you play off coverage to Burrow, who can now throw again, and Jamar Chase. Press him man-to-man with your corners. They've got some corners now, Seattle, and I haven't even touched on Seattle's offense. Like they can play Seattle. They've got a running back. Kenneth Walker's good, hard. He runs hard. He just got their O-line's not great blocking for him, but he's a good kid running the ball. And outside their receivers, Geno is playing well, considering like we still kind of think that he's not a great quarterback, but it's now over a year of him playing pretty well. And don't forget, they went into Detroit and beat the Lions, which is now looking like a big win. Seattle on the road. So yeah, I'm looking forward to this matchup. I can't really call it, but I can call the over. Over's going to come in. Really looking forward to Bengals receivers against these two young Seattle corners. That's where I'll be fascinated to watch this game.
Good stuff. You got anything you want to add to that, Jay?
I want Paul to pick. You have to pick, Paul. Gun to your head. Who are you picking?
I picked the Seahawks. I need to see it more than once from Burrow, and if the Seahawks do the right thing for their team, press Jamar Chase, they can win this game because they're a more balanced team to me than the Bengals. But I'm not confident. I'm much more confident in the over. I'd go over. I can see this being a coin flip game.
I literally have written down as my first point for this game, I like the over. Because I just think that these two are high, on their day, they are high-flying, explosive offenses. And I think that these two defenses have struggled a bit overall.
Yep.
I know, obviously, they took, the Seahawks took care of business against the Giants. The Cardinals have been competitive, so we'll give them that. But I just think that if these two come, on game, on point offensively, this has got shootout written all over it. I think I even wrote down, this could be game of the week, I think, with the amount of talent that they have at receiver, both of them. I mean, what did Chase say after the Titans game? I'm open. I'm always fucking open. Did he back that up last week? My goodness me. You know what? I'm sick of the disrespect to Chase. I don't understand why people see him as just top 10. He's in my eyes, at least, he's top 3. Only Jefferson, only Hill, I guess, the way Hill's playing. I'll take Chase over everyone else. I'm sure there's plenty of receivers that can run pretty routes and get open for 5 yards. Give me Chase, who's going to take the top off for 80 yards.
Yeah.
Give me that guy. Burrow looks healthy. Wow, what a difference it makes when you can step into throws. And as I think Rob said earlier, he was running for first downs. That is a very, very good sign. So I see high scoring game here. Seattle coming off the bye, is that right?
Yep.
Wow. Pete Carroll will have this lot prepared. High scoring game. The spread is, I think, 2.5.
Yeah.
The Bengals. And I'm going to say I think that is just right. I think high scorer and the Bengals win on a game-winning field goal drive.
Okay. So I guess I've only got a little to add to that. I agree. I think over. I look at the Seattle schedule, and apart from the Lions win, which was a great win, it was in Detroit 37-31. They lost week 1 30-13 to the Rams. They beat the Panthers by 10. The Panthers, are they that good? I don't think so. They beat the Giants 24-3. Are the Giants very good? No. I think, personally, the Seahawks are rated a bit higher than what they should be. I think the Bengals comfortably cover the 2.5 spread. I look at a couple of things. You've got Seattle coming over from the West Coast. It's a 1 p.m. game. So they're going to be playing at 10 a.m. their time against the Bengals. That does make a difference, as we saw in London, and as we've seen with the Raiders many times. It impacts teams going from the west to east. And it's not just so much Seattle. I see them making the playoffs, but like we said at the beginning of the year, I see them losing in the first playoff game. I just see what I saw from the Bengals was they've turned that corner. Burrows looked like Burrows last week. He's still not there, but again, it's a gradual improvement. And I see that continuing to improve this week. It's not going to be as easy, one-sided as the Arizona game, but I see the Bengals winning by a touchdown. Probably about between 7 and 10 points I see this game. But I see the over as well. And I think this Bengals defense, they've been put in a lot of really bad field positions this year because the offense wasn't doing anything. So I see that changing now that Burrows is back to, or on his way back to some sort of resemblance of the player we've seen the last couple of years. Jamar Chase, that confidence. If Higgins is back, again, they comfortably beat the Cardinals last week, and that was without their number 2 / a lot of teams' number 1 wide receiver. if he's back, yeah, I think Witherspoon I think he's an amazing player. From what I've seen of him so far, he's special, but he's not had to come up against anyone like Jamar Chase in them first 4 games. Who's he had to come up against? Puka Nacua at the Rams, Lions, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Panthers, I don't even know who their number 1 wide receiver is, and Giants, do they even have any wide receivers? Probably not. So, who's he going to? Jamar Chase, T. Higgins. Even if you put Tyler Boyd, they're probably better than, apart from Amon-Ra St. Brown, better than any of the wide receivers they've come up against. So, yeah, I see Bengals win between 7 and 12 points, and I like the over as well. So, thanks for that, Paul. That's going to be a great game either way. Looking forward to that. We're spoiled again at 1:00, which leads us on to your game, Jay. Do you want to kick us off with your featured game for week 6?
Yeah, so I must admit, I picked this without having the full information of who was available or who potentially won't be available. But I've gone with 49ers at Browns. You took the words out of my mouth, Rob. This is my favourite thing, it seems, to say about these games. It is West Coast team flying over for the 1:00 game. So it is 10 a.m. local time playing. This could be a bit of a trap game. If Deshaun Watson is playing. All bets are off if Deshaun Watson can't go this week. They're talking about PJ Tucker. PJ Tucker has a great highlight. He made a great throw in the Panthers-Falcons game. I think it was last year. But overall, you're not going to get it done against the 49ers, I don't think.
No. But
Cleveland Browns defense is not getting spoken about enough, in my opinion. If the Cowboys had their stats, we would hear about it every single day. This is the number 1 defense in yards allowed. Officially, this is the number 2 defense in points allowed. But reality, it is the number 1 defense in points allowed, because they've given up 60 points in 4 games. But 14 of those were by the offense against the Steelers. So the defense is not giving up 15 points a game. The defense is giving up between 11 and 12 points a game, which ranks number 1. The 49ers, I'm a little bit concerned about what's being said after this game. Kittle with his T-shirt, it's a laugh, but I don't want us to be one of these teams. We don't need to be a front running team like that. No good comes from front running. Just take care of business. Enjoy it by all means. But when you start doing like that, I think you're walking a bit of a tightrope. And Debo sort of saying, it could be worse next time. Don't need to say that. But in terms of the play, what can we say? Okay, the game is going to be in Cleveland. There is a chance of rain. I did do a bit of weather homework, so I don't know if that's the same thing for Cincinnati. Both games.
See, one of you did your homework properly this week.
Well, they're in the same state, so
yeah. So who knows? I mean, obviously the most significant factor of the game now is, will Deshaun Watson play? It seems he's got a rotator cuff issue?
Yeah.
If he does play, he's playing with it, And I mean, there were some murmurs of questioning his toughness in the last game because he pulled out at the last minute. I honestly think that for Watson, it's almost the opposite. Like he's 0 to 100. He'll put his body on the line too many times. So I think that was out of bounds. I honestly would have picked the Browns, I think, this week if Deshaun Watson was healthy, just because of the factors we've seen all year so far. Big team wins big game, and what's happened the week after? Miami won 70-20. They then got blown out. The Bills then beat Miami. They've now just lost to the Jaguars under different circumstances. I get it.
Yeah.
The 49ers have won, 14 regular season games in a row. It's got to come to an end at some point. It does. But it feels like right now the 49ers are getting a lot of breaks. Deshaun Watson, if he doesn't play, I'll say, the 49ers, I expect them to win. But I don't think we will see the 49ers score 30 for the first time this week. I do think that this Browns defense is real.
Yeah.
Even without Deshaun Watson and a lot of offensive mistakes in his absence, they gave up, 24 or 27 to the Ravens? Could have another team that could be 40 plus, the way we've seen things this year.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, I think quite a few of their first, their 2 or 3 games of the year, the beginning of the year, it was quite bad weather, so I think that might have potentially impacted the points. But the defense is legit. Like I think I mentioned it maybe on my performance of the week in week 2 or week 3 with Myles Garrett. Like he is the heartbeat of that defense. He's a freak of nature. But not just him. The whole defense is just scary. And it is a banana skin matchup. I do think you have the right people in place to deal with the West to the East Coast. And you've got enough talent in reserve, I guess you could say, where you don't have to be at your best to beat Cleveland. I think you could beat them with your B game. It's a tricky game though. Is it 6.5 points, the spread?
I think it's 5.5.
But
yeah,
it's 7 now.
Must have moved.
It's 7.
Yeah, it was definitely
Wow.
6.5 this afternoon. So it's gone up to 7 now. And it started at about 5.5. You said, Jay.
I saw it at 5.5. Yeah.
If it's raining, I would, and Watson plays, I would love Browns at +7. But I still think the 49ers will win. So I'll go with the 49ers win just because, again, they can beat you on the ground. They can beat you in the air. If it is raining, if it is windy, they're not going to be asking Purdy to throw the ball 30 yards in the air. He probably won't be throwing it over 30 times in the game. But it will be your screen passes. It'll be your little dink and dunks, getting it to Debo, getting it to CMC in space, making players miss it. It's the only way you can play in them conditions. And he's the OC. He's the guy calling plays that you would want in them sort of situations.
If it is a running contest, I mean, I've got to go with. I lean to the 49ers without Chubb.
Yeah, definitely. There's no Chubb, that's for sure. And Kareem Hunt isn't the player he used to be. Father Time has caught up. But yeah, so for me, I will go with a 49ers win. You got anything you want to add to that, Paul?
Yeah, the Browns are overmatched. They might do game plan this the same way as the Cowboys did, and because the one thing Cleveland do have is they're very good up front, like at stopping the run. This might be another Brock Purdy game, but that's really provided the weather. Provided you can throw the ball, then the Niners have more than enough to handle Cleveland. No Deshaun Watson, no Nick Chubb, no chance. It's, for me, it's as simple as that. Like, the only way that San Francisco would lose this game is if they looked past this game. But I think they're too professional to do this. They're going to have bigger tests coming up, San Francisco. This is not one of them. they'll handle the Browns. But yeah, that's the way I see this game going, is that they'll try to stop McCaffrey, but then Brock Purdy has shown us like he's more than enough to handle this kind of situation. 49ers win.
Good stuff. Cool. So now going on to the third game, I've gone with the Panthers at the Dolphins. It's fun talking about the Dolphins. It's a fun team to look at, to review their games. Although I watched the Giants game and I had the Dolphins at -11. And I said, guys, play a clean game of football. Like, they made some stupid mistakes again. Like I mentioned earlier, I can't remember what, the Ravens. Just mistakes. Even if you're expected to win or you're blowing out, you don't want to start getting used to these sort of mistakes. You start doing it more often and it becomes a habit. Don't get into these habits. Like, he threw a pick six that, and I think they were at the Giants' 7-yard line, something like that. He threw the pick six. Then he throws the second interception at Miami's 27. So straight away, he's given the Giants 10 out of their 16 points just from interceptions. Didn't make a difference in the result of the game, but for me, I want to see just a cleaner game from Tua. As you touched upon it when you were doing your quarterback picks, Paul. He's ultra aggressive. I think that could come back to haunt them. Yeah. Not this weekend, but when they play the better teams, they've got the players where they don't need to be that aggressive. Like Tyreek Hill, Waddle's now back. Just Tua needs to manage it a little bit better. He's doing a great job. Don't get me wrong. He is doing a very good job. I just always wary of when these little mistakes come in that they start to turn into a habit. So I'm hoping the OC and McDaniel and just everyone is picking up on that and making sure they rectify it before it becomes an issue. That, and obviously A-Chain also had a fumble after an 8-yard run for, I think, a first down. Just little things to clean up. If they do that, they will absolutely, I think they cover the spread again this week, which is -13.5. Like, they could rip the Panthers to pieces. The Panthers secondary really isn't that great. I look at the Panthers and none of it really blows me away. Bryce Young's a funny one. I watch him play and he looks like an NFL quarterback. He throws like an NFL quarterback. The problem is he throws it about a second too late every time. So you look at like the picks and that he's had countless numbers this year. Guys are open, but by the time it gets to them, it's closed. And he needs to see the plays develop quicker. And unfortunately, that's not really something you can teach and you can coach. You can try, but you either have that or you don't. And really, if you haven't picked that up in college, then will he pick that up? I think they might have wasted a lot of money on that pick on Bryce Young. I hope not, because I like he's so clean. His throwing motion is great. I think he's got the talent to do it. And I know I've spoken to Paul about it a few times. Talent-wise, he's got it, but yeah, the timing is all off. Then I look at Tyreek Hill. So he's on course to have 2,213 receiving yards based off of the yards he's had through 5 games. That's with a 40-yard game and a 58-yard game. It's just like, man, he's averaging 130 yards a game. And everyone knows he's the guy to stop. McDaniels just keeps finding ways to get him the ball. Like at the weekend with the Giants, defensive coordinators think it's a good idea to single him. I wouldn't have one play where he's single covered. You need to have safety help when you're covering Tyreek Hill. Otherwise, there's only one result. Even if the defensive back was facing the same way with a few yards head start and then they just throw it up, Tyreek Hill's still going to get there first. They've got to turn around and then run. It's not a fair battle. And that's without looking at Jalen Waddle. And A-Chain's out, but Mostert, it's not exactly a slow coach to back up. Well, not to back up, but Mostert was probably still the starting back. It was, if it was a more established team than the Giants, I'm sure A-Chain wouldn't have had as much. But again, A-Chain got the credit for the last 2 weeks. But if you look 2 weeks ago, I can't remember the matchup now, but Mostert still had a huge game. The Denver game, Mostert still had a huge game. And it was only just because it was an absolute, travesty from a defensive standpoint that A-Chain came in and got what he got. But yeah, I look at this Carolina team and I don't know if they're the worst team in football, but there's nothing I see that I like. I'm trying to think, right, can they cover a 13.5 point spread? Even with the Dolphins D, I don't see it happening. So I see the Dolphins covering the spread. You look at last week, the Lions beat the Panthers. The Lions didn't even get out of second gear. It was a comfortable win. 28-7, I think, quite early in the second half. And then the game just dwindled out. There was a few late touchdowns from both teams. But yeah, it was a poor performance from the Panthers. And there's been a lot of them, like the Seattle game. It was a 10-point game, but it never really felt like it was close when you were watching it. Just like the Lions game, just like, I can't remember the other game before that, but yeah, I don't feel confident in this Panthers team. I see comfortable win in Miami at home, for the Dolphins. You guys have anything you want to add to that, Jay?
The Panthers are 0-5, and I'm just like wondering where this win is going to come from. It just feels like a total mismatch, and 13.5 is definitely a contender for me for best bet this week.
Yeah.
It's a great time actually for the Dolphins to integrate Chase Claypool.
Great shout. Great shout.
They've lost A-Chan. They are gaining Jeff Wilson Jr., who I know very well, being an ex-49er. He is someone that can get you 100 plus in any given game. So Mostert and Jeff Wilson Jr. will be more than enough over the next month to live without, the super talented, it seems, A-Chan. Yeah, not much more to add, to be honest. Dolphins, I see this as a blowout. I'd be careful with the over, just because I don't know how many the Panthers will score. But this is one of those games, as Paul would like to say, take care of business and get out clean with no injuries.
Yeah, exactly. How about you, Paul? You got anything you want to add?
Yeah, you just stole my line. Yeah, this is a let's make it through unscathed to the other side. Excellent point about Claypool, Jeff Wilson. If you've got who's their backup quarterback, it's Mike White from the Jets last year. Give Mike White reps.
He wasn't actually that bad in a couple of games, if I remember right.
Give him the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
They were like chanting for Mike White over Zach Wilson last year, but it's the Jets.
Yeah.
And the Panthers, Frank Reich's supposed to be a very good offensive coach, and Bryce Young, they've invested a lot in this kid, and he's not improving at the rate that they would have hoped for. So
what have they got round him? Who's the number one receiver? Is it Adam Thielen?
I think it is.
Yeah.
He actually played pretty well last week, Thielen. I'll give him that, but he's not a number one receiver. He's a very good number two to support a number one. But yeah, he's
went
not
from a number two to a number one. That kind of
but in very quickly.
For the pick, they gave DJ Moore to the Bears, which is he had 200 yards last week. DJ Moore, he's a player. they're giving him the chance, Bryce Young, but it's early. Like the 5 week is.
They've got to build around him. Give him some weapons. I mean,
it's like a lamb out for the slaughter, isn't it? Like he's got, if you don't put, he ain't got a good O line. He doesn't have anything around him really that you think, okay, got a defense that are going to keep you in games. No, world class wide receiver. No, great O line. No. Like, well, what? I guess what else do we expect? We've been a bit spoiled, maybe with Stroud, thinking, okay, he should be doing better. But they're two different teams, two different coaches. It's not comparable. The Texans do have more than the Panthers.
What if they number one? Oh no, wait, they won't have it. If they're number one, it's not their pick.
No, they don't.
Who gets it? So who is it? Who's got
the Bears?
The Bears.
So the Bears currently have the number 1 and number 2 pick, and the Patriots have the number 3 pick.
Bears will get a lot for Caleb Williams. If they stay with Fields anyway, they would get a bucket load for Caleb Williams. But I think they would go for Caleb Williams because he's already better than Fields. He's already so much better than Fields.
Fields can be a Taysom Hill for them.
True. Yeah. Love it. All right, so that's the featured games for this week. So now it's time for Jay to give us an update on picks through 5 weeks. Now, I know for myself, I had an absolute shocker last week. I think most of us didn't have a good week, but I know mine stunk the place up.
So it was a difficult week. Rob, you were 500, and Paul and I were just over 500. So updated standings through. I'm getting this at 78 games. Paul is 46 and 32. That is a 59% win rate. So you're about to cross the 60% mark, Paul. I am in second with 50 and 28. That's a 64% win rate. And Rob still holds the lead by 1 this time at 51 and 27. 65% win rate. So once again, we are still all winning above 500 through 5 weeks. I wonder how many others can say that.
Not many. Right, so let's do our picks for this week then. So tomorrow night, we've got the Denver Broncos at the Kansas City Chiefs. Jay, I wonder it's obviously a tight game. Who you got?
I mean, you can't pick the Broncos. I'm definitely picking the Chiefs. The spread, the Chiefs. The spread is 10.5, I believe.
It is.
It's a bit of a dodgy number with the Chiefs, who are going for the professional wins. But at the same time, this Broncos organization, shall we say, it's a broken organization. I don't know what the hell they are going to do in the off-season when they gave up, 3 firsts for Wilson. I'm pretty sure they gave up a first for Peyton.
Yeah.
So they're in a bit of a hole here.
Yeah.
They've been torched by pretty much everyone they've played. The Jets. I mean, that's not much to sing about. That the Jets didn't have great success offensively, but this team is they're just a mistake waiting to happen. There's nothing good I can say about them, other than they've got a great corner, maybe. But if I'm a team that needs a corner, as Paul said last week, make the call. They're saying that they are not looking to trade players, but they're taking the calls. So,
yeah.
I think, being a primetime game, I'm going to say that the Chiefs put on a show here. And we haven't seen Kelsey have a big game yet. maybe we won't this week because of the ankle. Maybe it's going to be a take care of business kind of day. But it is a divisional game, and I just feel like maybe the Chiefs will put on a show here. I'm going to say that they cover this spread. I think that the Denver defense isn't going to turn around in 4 days, based on what it's done so far this year. Chiefs cover and actually probably go over.
Okay, cool. What about you, Paul?
So I was just going through the Broncos' schedule. So they gave up, as we know, famously 70 to the Dolphins. They gave up 35 to my man Sam Howell. They gave up 28 to Justin Fields in that game that the Bears gift wrapped to them. They gave up 31 to the Jets, who wanted to run the ball. That's terrible. Their defense is terrible. I'm remembering the run that Breece Hall had for the touchdown, where the safety ran down and just took the worst angle that I've seen in a long time. Like, it was almost like he just did it just so that he didn't have to initiate contact with Breece Hall, just ran past him instead of at him. They're playing with, you don't want to say that a team have quit, but on D they look like they've quit. And yeah, the Chiefs will do what they want. It's how much they want to on a Thursday night on a short week, how much the Chiefs need to or want to put into this. I wouldn't bet the Chiefs. They probably will cover the spread. I probably will cover the over, but I wouldn't get involved heavily with that. The Chiefs will win this. With Denver, you're probably on watch how long before Peyton blames Russell Wilson and benches him. We're on Jared Stidham watch. When is Stidham going to get some reps as the backup quarterback? Because it's going to have to be somebody else's fault and not Sean Payton, even though he probably lit the torch with the comments that he made. So yeah, Chiefs win.
I think he's realising Hackett's actually a really good coach. So yeah, he's definitely learned the team isn't as good as he thought when he arrived. I'm going with a Kansas win. I think it won't be as easy as a lot of people think. It's a divisional game. They're always different divisional games, you know. Although I do question the heart of this Denver team, whether they really want to be there. Thursday night football, quick turnaround. If I was the Chiefs, I would sit Kelsey, because I don't think they need Kelsey to win this game. Makes it harder, but I want him to be fit to fight another day. And I wouldn't feel that we would need him to beat the Broncos. So yeah, I'm going with Kansas to win. I'm not touching the spread. I'm not touching the over-under. Like, part of me wanted to say the under just because it's a Thursday night game on a short week, a divisional matchup. But when you look at the amount of points Denver have given up to all of these teams, like, Kansas will put over 30 points up. I think it's just a matter of how much Denver do. But yeah, Kansas win. Next up, we've got the London game. Baltimore Ravens at the Tennessee Titans. Jay, who you got?
So I'm going to this game. Fascinating game. Two inconsistent teams. The Titans I can't get a good read on. I don't know why. Like, I just don't know what I'm going to get from them on a week-to-week basis.
Yeah.
If they play to their maximum, they can beat anyone. But the off weeks that they consistently have, they can lose to anyone. I think the Ravens will bounce back. I think the Ravens, after watching back that game at Pittsburgh, they are going to be pissed off. And I think that they will take it out on the Titans. Very excited to see Lamar Jackson live. So I think Ravens win. I would go under. whatever the under is. I think that this will be a low-scoring game.
Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. What about you, Paul?
Yeah, I'm going with Baltimore. Like Jay said, with the bounce back after the game in Pittsburgh, and the Colts ran the backup by Zach Moss ran for 180 odd yards or something.
Yeah.
On the day Jonathan Taylor was back, but Zach Moss took over the game against the Titans. That's not a good sign when you're going to play the Ravens, who should go back to what they do best, which is running the ball. Yeah, Baltimore will be pissed off, and they're too well coached to not bounce back. I think they win a low-scoring game. The under's only 41. It's 41, the over-under. I don't like
to touch that.
Dangerous.
Yeah, it's not a lot. Yeah, Ravens win.
Yeah, that's a full house with me. Ravens win. I love the fact that they've come over early. The team is well coached. Management manages the team well. They've had an off day today. Let the players get their hair down with their families, sort of just enjoy the experience. I like everything I've seen from them. It's how I think it should be done if you want to be successful coming over to London. And I just think the Ravens will have too much. When they've lost this year, they've beaten themselves. So I see that they'll do enough to beat the Titans. So next, we got the Washington Commanders against the Atlanta Falcons at the Atlanta Falcons. Jay, who you got? This was the first of my selections that I was really struggling with this week.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at this week, and we thought last week was hard. I think this week might even be even harder.
Yeah.
I mean, the Commanders defensively, they are giving up a lot of points, like a lot of points. But Paul's man, Sam Howell, seems built to kind of fight in these ones. I said that the Falcons defensively were quite poor, but what I've seen in the last few weeks, maybe I was a bit wrong about that. I'm not saying they're elite, but they're pretty competent. Desmond Ridder. I'm getting like a flashback to when I was like saying, don't trust Mac Jones, but pick the Patriots anyway. Operation Stop Bijan Robinson again. This is a tricky one. All right, I'm gonna roll with the Falcons just because I don't have any faith in the Commanders' defense, but I'm not confident at all. I could see some points in this game, as always with the Commanders game. But I don't know if they can stop Bijan Robinson. They seem like they can't stop anything based on what we've seen recently.
Yeah, cool. What about you, Paul?
Yeah, I struggled with this. I want to back my man Sam. For me, the weakness, the key to this game is the glaring weakness of the Commanders is their secondary and the coverage, and I don't think the Falcons can take advantage of that with Desmond Ridder. I think they just about can hold up enough to stop or restrict the Falcons' running game, and the Commanders will score points. They do score points. They're such a hard team to read. They almost beat the Eagles, and then they played like they did against the Bears. So completely up and down. I'm going to go with my man, Sam Howell, to go into Atlanta and win the game. The Falcons secondary is good, but I don't think it's good enough to because Sam will just keep coming and he'll keep coming and he'll keep throwing it up and he'll be aggressive and I think he'll score. I'm going to back Sam to outduel Desmond Ridder and put up more points than Desmond Ridder. Commanders win.
I am, again, I was looking at this game for quite a while. It's a coin toss, like a few of the games last week. And I've gone the way I've gone because I think the travel, etc. It's been a busy few weeks for the Falcons. Not having a bye after the London game, getting the win last week was fair play to them. But I think I'm going to go with Washington. Their front four is very, very good. I don't understand why the defense is giving up. Well, I know why, but with that front four, their defense should be playing so much better. I think they will be able to put it into Ridder's hands. And even though he got my performance of the week last week, I don't think lightning will strike twice. I see Washington getting the win in a close game, but I think just the travel, everything they've had over the last couple of weeks will catch up with them. A good front four of Washington's going to come in and give Ridder, and not back down to reality. So, next game, the Minnesota Vikings at the Chicago Bears. Who you got, Jay?
God, this is another one that I'm undecided on.
Yeah.
Which Bears are we going to get this week?
What Vikings are we going to get this week?
What Vikings are we going to get this week without Justin Jefferson? I mean, defensively, they kept the Chiefs in check, shall we say, overall.
Yeah.
Say that. I mean, the Chiefs scored, 28 maybe?
Yeah.
The Bears have had 10 days to prepare for this one. How big will that Jefferson absence be? Your man, Rob, is going to be the number one receiver, and the scheme is built all around the number one receiver. Can Jordan Addison step up to the plate so soon? He's already had a lot of big plays.
He has. I think he's not going to be able to do what Jefferson does. Definitely, there's no doubt about that. He's been a quality wide receiver for the last 3 years in college. Can he step up? Yeah. I don't see him as a wide receiver one yet. He's still early. He's a very good wide receiver too. Hopefully he proves me wrong, but it's hard. Big boots to fill.
This is truly difficult. And I can't believe I'm going to do this, but I think I'm actually going to ride with Justin Fields and the Bears, being at the Bears. No Jefferson. There's something wrong with the Vikings offense. I don't know what it is, but even with Jefferson, there's something not right. It's not clicking. Has Cousins checked out because he knows he's gone at the end of the year? I mean, defensively, they couldn't be much worse last year, but they have improved. So there is that slight worry in my head that we're going to get a Justin Fields calamity game. But I'm going to ride with them. They've had 2 very good performances on offense. So 10 days to prepare, those extra days rest. Bears win. Close my eyes.
And what about you, Paul?
Yeah. I want to. Everything says go Vikings, but while looking at this game, I came across a bet which I think is amazing. DJ Moore over under receiving yards is 54.5. I don't know who plays corner for the Vikings, so I had to look it up, and I don't know. I still don't know, even with the names in front of me, who plays corner for the Vikings. I know Harrison plays at safety, but some
low.
Evans and Davenport, and Byron Murphy Jr. last seen on the Cardinals, I think it was. He's not. Then anyway, there's no Pat Surtain at corner for the Vikings, and yeah, Justin Fields as well. My man Justin Fields, 180 passing yards over under. That to me looks very appealing as well. Again, weather watch for Chicago, but yeah, okay. Screw it. I'm gonna go Bears.
Okay.
Why not?
When I was doing my predictions earlier, again, like this was another game that I really couldn't make. I was like, I'll be able to pick up a game on these two here because I'm going to go with the Bears, and they're no way going to go with the Bears. And lo and behold, both of you go with the Bears. So surprisingly, it's going to be a clean sweep with me as well. I've looked at 10 days break at home, finally a bit of positivity with that win against Washington. So they'll have the fans on side temporarily. Jefferson's the different. If Jefferson's playing, I put the Vikings winning this game. He's not playing. You don't replace Jefferson. Simple as that. There's no way you replace him with any wide receiver in the league. And yeah, the Vikings are just a weird team. You just don't know what you're going to get. The Vikings could comfortably win this game by like 14 points, 21 points, and I wouldn't be surprised. But whether they do that is another question. Like, it seems like they used their luck for the next 10 years last year. With all of them one possession games that they won, now it's all turning around. They still got their fumble issues, turnover issues, and yeah, I can't believe I'm saying this, but I am going with Chicago to win. So, Seattle at Cincinnati. We've all gone through this. I went with the Bengals. Paul, did you go with Seattle?
Yeah, I'll go with Seattle in a high-scoring game.
And Jay, who did you go with again?
Bengals.
Cool. 49ers at the Browns. I've gone with the 49ers. Paul, you went with the 49ers. And Jay, I think you went with the 49ers as well, right?
Yep.
Perfect. Carolina at Miami. We've all gone Miami. That's simple. So now on to the next one. Colts at the Jaguars. Jay, who you got?
What a great game this could be. This, again, are we going to get the best of the Colts? Are we going to get the best of the Jaguars? The Jaguars traveling back. They're a difficult one. It's almost like the Titans. When they're at their best, they can give every team
a match. Yeah.
A match, yeah. Colts. So Colts. Anthony Richardson did not listen to our advice and is now out. Minshew Mania revenge game.
Oh yeah.
Jonathan Taylor is back, so he's got a week under his belt. I'm gonna ride with the Jaguars. They're at home. They took care of the Colts in week 1, and I think they've grown over the last few weeks. Always risky to say that about the Jaguars because then they come back and let you down. But I'm going to roll with the Jaguars. That was a confidence-boosting game they had last week. The season turned last year when they returned from London. I think it's turned a bit earlier this year, so Jaguars win.
Perfect. What about you, Paul?
Yeah, I thought this could be a trap game. It got potential to be a trap game for the Jags, the letdown after coming back home from London. But they played very well against a very good team in the Bills. And they just reminded at least myself of how much talent they have. The Jags, the Colts, very well coached, make the most of what they've got, but they're outmatched talent-wise. The Jags will win this.
Yeah, that makes three of us. I'm going with the Jags. Minshew mania will be back in Jacksonville, but there's a reason he's not there. He's a good backup quarterback, but he's not a starting quarterback. They lose a lot from their offense when Richardson's not there with the ground game. Obviously, Taylor and Moss isn't going to be a bad option this week based off of last week's performance. I was a bit concerned with the travel, and it's been a bit of a whirlwind few weeks for the Jags in London for 2 weeks. The first team to do it, so we don't really know how that affects teams when they come back. But it's not that long of a flight from Jacksonville to London, not the way they fly. And they came back, I think, Sunday night, didn't they? So they've been back a few days now. So yeah, I'm going with the Jags win.
Can I just say, Rob, Calvin Ridley has hit the ground running overall. Yeah, that has worked out. That was a gamble, having sat out for a year. It looks like it's paying off.
He was always an amazing wide receiver, wasn't he? At
the
Falcons, and they just made some, whatever the issues were, didn't work out. But he's now got a very good quarterback thrown to him, and that's the thing. When you got a good wide receiver with a quarterback that can throw, it's a scary combo. And that's without even mentioning Kirk, who is highly underrated. I think he's a very good wide receiver.
He's perfect at number 2.
Yeah,
perfect.
Exactly. Perfect. Next game, New Orleans at the Texans. Jay, who you got?
Wow.
This is a 1.5 point spread.
Yeah, this is again another difficult one for me.
Mm-hmm.
Who I believe in the Saints. The thing is, they've got Kamara back, which
huge help.
has been a huge help for them. The Texans getting beaten by Ridder is a concern. Can the Saints sustain drives? Because the thing is, it's so difficult because you can't read into, 35-0 against the Patriots.
I don't know you anything.
Anytime you have a shutout, it's impressive. Don't get me wrong. But, the Patriots are falling apart. It is in Houston.
Yeah.
So I am going to roll with my man CJ Stroud this week. Texans win somehow, some way.
Okay. Paul, who you got?
I've got the Saints. I'm just going with their defense. I think they'll make it difficult for CJ, who be a big test for him. Actually, this is a good test. Lattimore on the outside is going to shut down one receiver and they get after the quarterback. The Saints, they don't concede a lot of points. Take out the Patriots game, they still don't concede a lot of points. I think it's only Tampa put up 20 something on them. Apart from that, the Saints D has been pretty impressive, and they'll make it difficult for the rookie. I'll be impressed if he beats the Saints, but I don't think he will. Saints win.
So yeah, I was unsure on this game. I looked at the New Orleans defense and thought they're going to cause problems, but I thought the Pittsburgh defense would cause problems as well, and that didn't materialize how I thought it would. Lattimore is still an elite cornerback, and
Underrated.
he is. And you know what? I think Stroud will throw his first interception this week. I hope he doesn't.
Sometime.
It does. And Lattimore with Cameron Jordan, I can't remember the guy with the long hair's name now. But Cameron Jordan, the pass rush that they've got, Lattimore and secondary, Camera being there to just help take some of that pressure off Carr with just the short passing game. I think it would be too much for the Texans. I think they're a well-coached team, the Texans. I think CJ Stroud's going to have a bright future ahead of him. But I see the Saints winning this game. I see it being a very close one-score game. But New Orleans win. Next game, New England Patriots at the Las Vegas Raiders. Jay, who you got?
Another game to avoid any sort of bets on. I'm just going to take the Raiders because I have absolutely zero faith in this Patriots team. Quietly, maybe they've already quit on Belichick, but in a 4D chess way, are the Patriots tanking? I wonder. So I'm going to go for the Raiders. This is not a game that will be nice to watch, I don't think. Jimmy Garoppolo, by the way, loves to throw an interception. The so-called winner that we had to hear about for the last 4 years, not doing too much winning so far in Las Vegas, but I think he gets one this week. Raiders win.
Cool. What about you, Paul?
So we got the Patriots going to the Patriots West in 2023. And it's just confirmation, if we needed it, that this doesn't work in the year 2023. Both teams are going absolutely nowhere. It's a game that I don't want any piece or part of. I'll pick the Raiders to win, but no strong opinion whatsoever. They're both poor teams.
Cool. I'll repeat that. I've got Raiders to win. Just looking at two players that the Pats don't have, especially with Judon being out anyway, is Crosby and Devontae Adams. There's just them two skilled players alone more than anything that the Pats have. And it's at Las Vegas, so we get travel, etc. But yeah, I don't really think there's much to say about this game. It's what the master against the apprentice. It's is he a master still? I don't know. But yeah, Las Vegas to win for me. Next game, Arizona Cardinals at the Los Angeles Rams. Who you got, Jay?
I said to you both many weeks ago that I thought this game would suck, and it would suck twice this year because they play twice. I think this could be a good game. I think that I now don't want Caleb Williams going to the Cardinals for very different reasons. Originally, I didn't want him to go there because I thought they'd ruin his career. But Jonathan Gannon has taken a very poor roster and made it extremely competitive, I would say, for the most part. Okay, they've come up against the 49ers and Bengals and not really been in the games overall in the end. I'm not going to hold that against them. The Rams, again, have also surprised me. I mean, now they've got Kupp back. Kupp and Puka Nacua. They love them so much that they traded Van Jefferson away. Difficult one. What have I written down? This again is difficult. I think that I'm going to go with the Rams, just based on the fact that the Stafford Cup connection is red hot. They did hang in there against the Eagles. You know, okay, an Eagles not at their full best, but still the Eagles. It's still Aaron Donald. And I do think this offense with Cup, with Puka Nacua, with Tutu Atwell, is speed. And I think they'll just have enough against the Cardinals, who will keep this game close. But again, do not touch this game.
Cool. What about you, Paul?
Yeah, I'm going with the Rams. I think their offense is actually pretty good.
Yeah.
Like those three receivers you mentioned, and Matthew Stafford is still a very good quarterback in this league. And he took some licks from the Eagles, and he's still tough, and he's still getting up. And yeah, he hasn't quit at all. The Rams were supposed to be terrible this year. This was, like Jay said, this was supposed to be like a tank for Caleb game. It's not at all. I think the Rams, sneakily, I think the Rams might be a wild card in the NFC. But game.
There you go. I'm going for the Rams. Last week against the Eagles, it was like Cup hadn't been away at all. It was just like normal service resumed. Like he's just. What just freaks me out is when I watch him play, he was probably like, you know, when you're in the playground and you pick your teams, etc. I guarantee he never went in the top 2 or 3 when people are picking. Like, there's nothing about him that stands up and thinks he is an elite wide receiver. If you saw him in the street, you'd probably walk past him and nothing would notice. He wouldn't notice. But he is just so good. His route running is incredible. He's got great hands. He understands the game so well. And most importantly, he's got the right mindset. You know, like he works his butt off. And he's got a great, like reading about it, his girlfriend or wife, I'm not sure, support base is awesome. And you got that, you got good foundations. That shows, and well, the last few years has shown just how good he is. So, I think him and Nacua is going to be exciting to watch this year. Stafford, he'll get it to them. McVay will write up plays to get them the ball. I think he's done a great coaching job so far this year, McVay, and I think he'll continue. Rams win this game, but I see it being close because Arizona aren't as bad as any of us, myself included, who thought they were going to go 0-17. So yeah, I'll change the subject very quickly based off of my prediction.
You bet a double Cup from the get-go, because the first drive was so funny last week against the Eagles. It was like 3rd and 8, and I was talking to my dad, and I was like, "They're going to go to Cup." They went to Cup. It got to 4th and 4. They're going to throw it to Cup. They threw it to Cup. Double him from the get-go, and you'll just have to live with the results if Puka Nacua beats you.
Yeah, exactly. You know what the result will be if you single Cup. You don't know what the results will be if you single Puka Nacua. So yeah, we'll see. But I've got the Rams to win. Next game, the Philadelphia Eagles at the New York Jets. Jay, what you got on this one?
You know what? As encouraging as the signs have been for the Jets, I think this is finally the first game where the Eagles will win comfortably. So I think well done to the Jets for winning some games or being in some games. This, once again, Eagles defensive line against, if you can call it an offensive line, the Jets offensive line. Poor little Zach Wilson, as we continue to say, is in for a nightmare, I think. The Jets defensively inconsistent, and against an all-time offensive line, no. Eagles win comfortably.
Good stuff. Paul, who you got?
Yeah, this is a terrible matchup for the Jets. Terrible matchup. You don't want to be playing the Eagles when you've got a bad O-line and they've just lost their Veritaka. He's done the year after the Denver game.
USC.
Yeah, the way that the Jets want to play is run the ball with Breece Hall. You're not going to run on the Eagles. Like, this is going to be a long day, and Zach's going to be running for his life. This D-line is nasty. Philadelphia win. Like Jay said, I think it's comfortable. The Jets. It's just a terrible matchup for the Jets.
Yeah, echo everything you guys have said. I don't even think there's much need for me to go into detail about it, but Philadelphia, easy win. It's a great matchup. Philadelphia, horrible for the Jets, and I think it's going to be quite a painful score when they look back on this. Next game, Detroit at Tampa Bay. Who you got, Jay?
Wow.
This was a head scratcher.
You know what? I am very, very impressed with the Lions. I hope that the 49ers... I haven't looked at the schedule in a while. I hope the 49ers do not have the Lions on the schedule, because that would just be physicality versus physicality. Add those two together and you get injuries.
Yeah.
I mean, all credit to Baker, all credit to the Buccaneers. They've been far better than they were last year with Brady. But I'm going with the Lions. The Lions aren't just winning games; they're winning games comfortably. Not sure how comfortable this one will be, but I'm really, really impressed by the Lions OC overall. He does get a bit too over aggressive at times, but there's a lot of creativity here, and they seem to love their new tight end, Sam Laporta. So
you called it out last week as well.
Yeah, but as you've said as well, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Paul's man David Montgomery, they've got weapons, and I'm only naming 3 of them. There's more. Lions win. They keep rolling.
Good stuff. What about you, Paul?
Yeah, this would historically be a Lions defeat, but not these Lions. I think they're a very well coached team. They, like Jay said, they're very creative. They've got some weapons. They can run the shit out of the ball. They can pass. They're very creative in the pass game. Jared Goff quietly is probably better than he was when he was with the Rams and he made the Super Bowl.
No doubt. No doubt.
He's not. He did throw a pick, but he had that streak before the pick. He was not making mistakes. Yeah, he threw the pick. Probably good that he got it out of the way. But yeah, they're handling games, and yeah, I think this is a bad matchup for the Bucs. They can rush the passer. The Lions, Hutchinson's going to be running after Baker. The Bucs can't run the ball. That's a bad matchup for the Bucs. It'll be tough though, because it'll be hot down there in Tampa. They're a dome team going down there, the humidity, but I think they're a very professional team, the Lions, and they win.
I was torn on this game. At first, I was going to go with the Bucs. You know, I look at the Bucs and they've still got a very good D and cause issues. I'm not sure if Mike Evans will be healthy. That was a concern for me. If he is healthy, again, that's a hard matchup. Mayfield, I don't know how much I can trust Mayfield. That's the problem. It is at Tampa Bay and it is after a bye week, so they have had 10 days to prepare for this game. I really want to select the Bucs, but I've loved what I've seen from the Lions now from the end of last year. I called it from week 1 this season, how I've liked what Coach Campbell has done. I remember going back over a year ago, laughing at watching Coach Campbell, thinking what a terrible coach he is. and players are playing for him. That's exactly what you want a coach to do. He seems relatable. He seems like a Vrabel. Like players want to play for him. He gets stuck in. So with all that being said, I'm going to go with the Lions to win. I just think they're going to have too much overall on offense and defense. I see it being a very close game. I actually think the Bucs probably cover the 4-point spread, but I'm going to go with the Lions win. And then lastly is the New York Giants at the Buffalo Bills. No clues for who I'm sure everyone's going to be picking on this one. Who you got, Jay?
Just to say, we do have a Monday night game as well after this one.
Yeah, we do. Sorry, yeah.
But yeah. Do I feel sorry for the Giants now? Because last week they got a pissed off Dolphins, and this week they get a pissed off Bills. Yeah, the Bills are gonna crush them, I think, just like everyone is crushing the Giants at the moment. Nothing more to add than that, really. Bills win. Although I guess the only concern is the amount of Bills injuries on the defensive side. But in all of the players they lose, such as Matt Milano, they will be gaining Von Miller, who will be playing his second game. So that hopefully will be a big ad for them. Yeah, Bills win.
What about you, Paul?
Yeah, Bills win. Like I say, get through the game. No more injuries, please, Buffalo. Just make it through the game. And the Giants are on Caleb Williams' watch. They paid Daniel Jones. When can they get out of it? Is it
quickly
next year? Yeah,
they can get quickly. Yeah.
Right. How much money would Caleb Williams make in the New York media markets? There you go. Right. But they've got to finish below the Bears first and the Patriots and all these teams stacking up. So yeah, Bills win.
Yeah, Bills win. It's the Giants. No more needs to be said. Bills is a completely different level of class right now. Then we got Dallas at the LA Chargers to finish things off. Who you got there, Jay?
Chargers coming off the bye week. But the Chargers, as we know, is a team that you can't trust. The Cowboys will be, they'll be up for this one. The defense will feel embarrassed, and I'm sure they'll want to put this right. But they have the offensive coordinator, don't they? So he will know this Dallas D pretty well. You know what? I'm going to go with the Chargers, given they're coming off the bye. Don't love it, but there's just a lot of question marks about this Cowboys offense. I'm going to keep saying it. It's too basic. All they want to do is run the ball and then throw outside the numbers. That's their offense. There's nothing creative about that. Maybe it will work. I think Dallas are going to have to win this game through their defense, and not sure they're going to be able to do that this quickly after such a heavy defeat. I'm going to go Chargers.
Cool. Who you got, Paul?
I really don't know. I'll go with the Cowboys, but I don't like it. You
can go with the Chargers if you don't like it.
I don't like either side. I like the sides. like the side having the ball last to lose the game, but I don't know as the ball lasts. Yeah. Yeah, I'll go with the Cowboys. They were embarrassed on the national stage. They want to bounce back. They've got a lot of talent. The Chargers also have a lot of talent. Yeah, it's going to be a home game for the Cowboys, despite being in LA. And yeah, they'll win, I think. Who knows?
I think who knows. Love it. I'm going with the Cowboys. Like I said for the Pats game, and you both have mentioned already, they got embarrassed last week. They got embarrassed as well in the Arizona game. Admittedly, they're not playing the Pats this week. They're playing a much better team in the Chargers. But I see the defense stepping up. I don't see them completely stopping the Chargers. The Chargers have a great offense. But I see them having enough to win the game with their D. So I'm going with a Cowboys win. So that's it for our picks for week 6. Now to the last segment of the week, guys, our best bets. We had a pretty good week last week. We were 5 of 6. Me and Paul got 2 out of 2. Jay got 1 out of 2, but Jay's 1 was worth at least 3 correct picks on its own, being a 7-1 bet, which came in. So yeah, great week. Let's see if we can repeat it this week. Paul, what's your first bet of the week?
I've mentioned them both during the show. I came across this while researching one of the games. DJ Moore, receiving yards, over 54.5 receiving yards for DJ Moore. Yeah. If the Vikings don't have a great secondary, the Vikings do blitz a lot, but Justin Fields, when he throws, a lot of the time he is looking at DJ Moore, and 54.5 I think is not enough. He put up 200 the last time he played against the Commanders in that crazy game, Bears against Commanders. So DJ Moore over 54.5 receiving yards.
Cool. My first bet of the week is going to be Dolphins minus 13.5 against the Panthers. I just see their offense having way too much. My only concern is that they switch off at the end and some garbage points, which Carolina did against the Lions. But I see Dolphins covering the 13.5 spread. Jay, what's your first bet of the week?
It's going to be Bengals Seahawks over 46. I see shootout. 2 defenses that haven't quite shown their best yet, and 2 offenses that have the potential to explode. So yeah,
perfect.
Over in the Bengals Seahawks
game. Paul, what's your second bet of the week?
I also had Seahawks Bengals over, but not to want to give the viewers a second bet. So I'll go. This was my third bet, but I love this bet as well. Lions Buccaneers over 44. I think that's
a great bet.
Yeah, I thought it was too low. 44. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, the Bucks do have a good D, but the Lions, I trust their creativity from the OC and talent over 44. Don't think it's enough. Lions Buccaneers over 44 points.
Cool. My second bet of the week is going to be the same game that Jay just mentioned. I'm going with Bengals minus 2.5 against the Seahawks. Like I mentioned earlier, I think the Seahawks are as high as they're going to be based off of the first 4 games, but I got to look at them teams that they've played. And the Bengals are probably as low as they go. Oh, no, last week they would have been lower, but they're still not as high as they should be with their personnel. Everything seems to be going in the right direction now. They're at home, so I'm going to go minus 2.5 Bengals. Jay, what have you got for your second bet of the week?
Okay, so specials have been quite quietly good for me. I mean, I had that one on Thursday.
Yep.
Josh Allen over 250 and a rushing touchdown on Sunday. Came very close with Christian Watson over 100 yards and a receiving touchdown. If not for a Marcus Peters horse collar, would have been 3 for 3. I'm going to take a little bit of a risk. It's Thursday night. Mahomes over 300 passing, Kelsey over 100 receiving, which I know is risky because we don't know how much he'll play. But at 11-2, that is worth a go. So that is my second best bet.
Love it. Love it. So that wraps up the show, guys. Thanks for all of your input. Looking forward to the games this Sunday. Jay, have a great time at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Hopefully the atmosphere will rival last Sunday's, although I'm not hopeful, but we'll see. Thanks for everything and look forward to same time next week. Take it easy, guys.
See ya.